Hey y'all, I know we already did a deep dive on the Harry Potter books, but I was reading the first one the other day and I made a few more notes on it, like 8 pages worth.
Oh gosh.
So
Only
I
8 pages.
think maybe we should do another deep dive. What do y'all think?
Yes.
Sure.
Then let's get the conversation started. Hello and welcome to LexiCon. It is Maddie along with...
Dylan.
What happened?
I don't know. Why is everyone laughing?
It was funny.
Why is everyone laughing?
Because Maddie
Did the Joker
doesn't
come in here?
exist.
Is the Joker that funny?
No, that's
I mean,
a
not
rule.
funny, but he
We
does
haven't
have,
seen
like,
Joker.
You'll never see it coming.
Song 5 is pretty good. It has good music.
Okay, seriously though, I did make a few more notes when I was reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer Stone the other day, so I want to take another look at it, even though we've already done 2 deep dives on this book. Because
Third time's the charm.
This actually sort of kicked off our whole series because we first took a look at the through the trapdoor chapter, through the traptor,
The Traptor?
the traptor.
Is that a traptor that traps people?
I was thinking trapper keeper, raptor. I was saying there was a lot of ways we could go with
I'm
that.
thinking it's a
tractor.
like some modified tractor. This is like, I don't know, some
Wait,
futuristic-
tractor?
Yeah, tractor, but modified to
I
like,
think
trap
tractor
people
beam.
somehow.
I went trapper keeper and raptor.
I think tractor beam.
I was
So
thinking,
basically, it's a
like,
bird of
clover.
prey that you can keep your notes in.
Nice.
I guess they've got like they carry mail in
beams,
Harry
trap
Potter.
Nice.
These guys just have like rings on them that you can clip your loose leaf paper to.
Tractor beams to trap people.
Anyway, seriously, we went back and we looked through that chapter and we sort of, not made fun of it exactly, but looked at some of the sillier aspects of it, even though we really love the book.
Yeah.
And that sort of inspires us to go through and look at all the books at large. And when we got back to Sorcerer Stone, of course, we skipped that chapter, but we went through each one. And so yeah, I've come up with some more notes that I think we didn't hit last time. Even more, minute stuff, little stuff that is really no big deal. But once you've read it 12 to 20 times, like I have this book, you start to notice things, and
That's a lot of times.
a bit. Well, I try to reread the whole series at least once a year. And I know at one point, Sorcerer Stone was the one I'd read the most. It was up to like 10 times, and I stopped counting after that. But that was years ago.
Nice.
We should take a minute, too, to say really quickly, I know a lot of people have issues with this book series author.
Yes.
And we're not saying we're any different. But at least in our case, we still appreciate the art.
Yes.
Sort of the ultimate case of trust the art, not the artist. And if you're not somebody who can do that, I totally understand. There's pieces of art that I can't enjoy anymore because of the views of the author or the creator. It's not necessarily all books, but anyway, if you can't jive on this, jive on this or jibe on this? I think it's jibe. No, jive would be like jive talking. Jibe would be like you get in rhythm with it.
I've always heard jive as like another form of vibe.
No, I'm pretty sure you've heard it wrong.
Well, that wouldn't shock me.
I'm almost positive it's jibe.
Okay.
Oh.
I just know vibe.
Yeah, I could have just gone with that, but now we're here, so
Yes, we are.
started from Traptor, now we're here.
Oh gosh. That's quite a journey.
Now
Factor
this says a
to
jibe is a
vibing.
mocking insult.
Well,
Make insulting remark. So,
learn something new every day. And fail to spell words every day.
I understand.
yeah, the findings of the court do not jibe with the testimony of the witnesses.
When I look this up, I'm getting multiple results. Jive means either a type of music
Yeah,
or
no, right here,
listening
though.
or shouted.
Right here, jibe, be in accord, agree. That's what I was looking for.
Okay.
So anyway, the point is, if your feelings toward the author of these books makes you not able to enjoy them at all, and therefore not able to enjoy content relating to them, we completely understand. Go check out another episode of the podcast. We'll be back with non-Harry Potter content at some other point in the future, although I do need to warn you, probably like 25% of our episodes are Harry Potter related. Can I get this out,
Yeah.
please?
I wanted to say something, but okay.
Does it jive with what I'm saying?
Maybe.
Well, can I at least finish my spiel and then you can put it in? So anyway, we understand that those are your feelings. We certainly share a lot of them, but I still really like these books, and I still think it's really fun to look at and a good topic for our podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now everybody, please go on Twitter or whatever social media platform you have. Tweet at us, Maddie or something. Convince him to let me do Percy Jackson content on this podcast.
No.
Yes.
I'm not
It's
against it.
lame
You just said
hip-hop.
you want to do commentaries.
Well, see, if I could get you to read the books, we could do some breakdowns of the books too.
But I'd have to read them a couple of times to go back through and realize what the issues
Facts.
are. I mean, I didn't start.
It turns into a sword,
He wields a pen.
and it can reappear in his pocket.
He wields a pen.
Powerful.
As Fred has like goat legs or something, I don't know.
Yeah, because he's one of those creatures that I can't remember how you're supposed to pronounce. How do you pronounce it, Maddie? Starts with an S.
An S?
Yes, the part goat, part human.
I thought it started with an F.
Well, the one I'm thinking of is like S.
I thought it was like Faust.
No, this one is SATYR, something like that, I think.
Oh, I think, yeah, it's like satire or satyr.
Yeah, something
Satire.
like that.
See, his friend is Satire. And he wields a pen.
And his best friend slash crush
When you
slash
say he
girlfriend
wields a
has a
pen, I
baseball
thought you were
cap.
talking about me, like I had the pen to decide what we do and what we don't do. I could.
The both are true. Has a
Anyway,
baseball
on this
cap that
episode,
turns
we're taking a
into
look at Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone for
Yes.
the third time, looking at
Yes.
little inconsistencies in the narrative, little mistakes here and there, and these generally fall into one of three categories. One is mistakes that have occurred because, of course, the story wasn't necessarily all written at one time, and as you get further and further into the story, you know, you may want to switch up stuff, or you may do stuff that doesn't quite jibe with stuff that you wrote earlier,
Jibe!
which is totally understandable.
Yeah, before we started recording, Gabo was going on about fanfic that I had written. To the point that fanfic, I actually wanted to change something. I went back and edited. I had to reread all of my fanfics and edit everything so that it would match up.
But you
But-
edited something?
Not something drastic.
But we're taking a look at those sort of long-term inconsistencies, and there's also cases where the book has contradictory information within itself. Like you'll read something in one chapter, and a couple chapters later you'll read something about that same issue, and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't match up. And another thing I tend to look at is like character motivations, and like, well, I don't know if that character would really do that, or maybe like, what were they thinking? If they had done that, how would it have played out? Those are obviously the most specious and just sort of like me having fun with it.
Yeah.
I try to look at the other instances more often, but of course this is the third dive, and I just want to take a look at some things that make you go, you know, like the old CNC Music Factory song. Things that make you go, which Arsenio Hall turned into a bit. Things that make you go, Speaking of Arsenio Hall, I just watched him in the sequel to Coming to America. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as fresh or as original or as funny as the original, but I don't think it did anything to diminish the original. I thought it was a solid sequel. A lot of fan service in it, which I appreciate.
Yes.
I mean, it's cool if you can go in a new direction and give you another fresh take like you did with the original, but short of that, I think, you know, the fan service was well done. We got, I think, all the original actors back that were still alive. I kind of choked on that word a little bit. Still alive.
Yeah.
You're sad.
I definitely give it a thumbs up. I don't know how... I mean, I think it's an enjoyable movie even if you haven't seen the original, because they do sort of like Cobra Kai, and they actually show some clips from the original movie in it.
Cobra Kai's good.
And there's actually one scene that they actually sort of redid. They reframed where you got some pieces of that, but then I guess they de-aged Arsenio and Eddie Murphy and inserted new actors in to sort of reframe that scene, which is, you know, kind of a cool conceit too. So I don't think you have to see the original to enjoy the second one, but if you've seen the original, I think you'll like the second one. Like I don't think, again, it's not the original. It's hard to catch lightning in a bottle twice. But I definitely give it a solid thumbs up. I'd say probably, you know, not trying to be creative or anything, I'd say 7.5 out of 10.
Nice.
And that concludes our review.
Coming to America.
Yes.
So pretty much you're saying, though, it's like Cobra Kai. Like, you don't need to see the original material to like it. But if you've seen it, you're going to like it.
I would think so. I mean, I can't speak for everybody, obviously,
Yeah.
but anyway, that has nothing to do with Lego Harry Potter, which
Yeah.
this has nothing to do with.
No.
That's what we're doing over on Vidiocy on YouTube.
Yes.
Fun
This
fact.
is paper Harry Potter,
Yes.
like Paper Mario. Actually, not,
Okay.
because this is just a book.
Well, Paper Mario is a book in the Mario universe.
Is it now? I did not know that.
In Luigi's Mansion, you can see a ghost reading a book called Mario Story, which is the Japanese name of Paper Mario. Or something.
Could you imagine? I love the Lego games, and so of course I love the Lego Harry Potter games. How about a Paper Mario style Harry Potter
Yes.
game?
That'd be cool. What about Lego?
And I mean, they're really in a book, so you could play into that too. Oh my God, we need this.
What about Lego
Yeah.
Mario game?
I mean, I don't know if it'd be as
Isn't that
popular
Harry
right
Potter
now,
game
but
coming out soon?
is there? I did not know that.
Is it already out?
Oh yeah, isn't the
Yeah, it's the PlayStation
the Harry Potter
one.
PS5 game?
Is it definitely only PS5?
I'm not sure.
I don't have a PS5, so.
That's fact.
Well, fun fact about Harry Potter: he does not wield a pen. He wields a stick.
No, he usually writes with a quill.
He wields a stick.
Is a quill and a pen the same thing?
No.
By
Quill is a
definition?
feather.
Does anybody
Well, yeah,
know
but in
what
this case, it's a
called?
feather used for writing.
A pen has a
Legacy.
clicky thing.
All pens don't.
That's fact.
Some have,
I mean-
instead of having the clicky thing, like click them but then do the thingy to push them back up.
Some of them don't, though.
Some
at
of them
all.
have
Some of them have a
caps.
cap.
Like Percy
Well, those pens
Jackson's
are
pen.
dumb.
He takes the cap off and there's his
See,
sword.
this pen isn't even dumb.
I'm not,
He
a big,
can't
I'm,
just
not a,
click
I'm not a
it.
big fan of pens that have the cap. Most people,
No,
you
yeah.
take the cap off and you put it on the bottom, right? I can't do that. It makes it too long. I have to just set it down and then
See, I like
inevitably
doing
lose
that.
it.
But no, y'all
I
are
like
saying
having the
this
clicky
stuff.
pins
I have
on
a
the
pin.
plate.
You twist it to get the pin out, but then there's also a cap piece. You take that off, and now it's a knife.
How do you feel about like multicolored pens where they have the
I
different
love them.
clickers?
Freaking love those.
As like single.
Who else tried to put two colors down at
click,
once?
Click, click.
That was amazing when I was a kid. That was like the first one, a big revelation in my life. Oh my god, there's multicolored pens. These are awesome.
Right. I've also had gel pens that have different colors of ink like layered in them.
I had
Those are
the first
interesting.
gel pens that I really fell in love with. They were the cap kind.
Uh-huh.
They had an all black body, and the color was indicated just by a little tab on the top, and you could pull them out and exchange them. So I would do that.
Sounds amazing.
But then again, of course, then you'd have like a red top on a black pen, so it could be confusing. But I used to like to do that.
Nice.
All right. Anyway, to Harry
Harry
Potter
Potter.
and the Sorcerer's Stone again.
The boy he wields a stick.
Damn, I had another question, but we can say
No.
it for another
No, go
episode.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, what decade was Kevin Smith making movies?
He started making them in the 90s, and he's been
That's
making
what
them
I
ever
thought.
since.
That's what I thought.
Clerks came out in like 92, 93.
That's what I thought.
I think 93 was the official theatrical release.
Okay.
I was curious, we're talking books and
93 and
things,
94.
different book characters. I've recently been playing, yep, definitely been playing. Been reading Ready Player One, and of course it's like all 80s references. But then there's a line where the person's talking about the movies they've watched, and they're like, and of course Kevin Smith. Like the different directors. And I'm like,
Clerks should have a book.
Just because you like the 80s doesn't mean
well, yeah, but they've been like studying the 80s
The
for the plot.
Skiniverse should have a book.
The what?
The Skiniverse should have a book. Although screenplays.
Okay, guys, I looked it up.
They're comic
The
books.
game, the Harry Potter game, is Hogwarts Legacy. It comes out next year.
Yeah.
Like,
is it Lego Hogwarts Legacy? Because that'd be really fun.
No, I'm sorry,
Damn
it's
it.
not.
It'd be cool if they released a Harry Potter.
It doesn't look like it's gonna be
like a
pretty
new
cool,
Lego
though.
Harry Potter.
Oh, is that's the one that takes place like 100 years before Harry or
Something
something,
like
right?
that,
Yeah, I
maybe.
remember reading about that.
But they
I
should-
know there's the mobile one that takes place at some point in time.
But they're making a new Star Wars Lego game which
Yes,
has a
pugs,
bunch
all
of
pugs.
stuff. This is like all 6 movies.
Oh, is it?
Yes, all 6 movies, no other movies at all. And then they should make a new Lego Harry Potter game. That's
Yeah, but
like
there's no new
all-
content really unless you're gonna put Fantastic Beasts in it. Why would you want to do
Think
that?
about Cursed Child.
Didn't they do Fantastic
First child,
Beasts in Dimensions?
And I know a lot of
Yeah,
people
the
didn't
first
like
one.
Cursed Child.
I
I
don't
like
mind
Cursed
it.
Child.
I both
The only-
like
the only
it.
thing I
and
The only
hate
problem I
it.
have is Voldemort fucked.
Yes.
The only problem I have with it is it sort of screws with its own rules of time travel.
And Voldemort fucked.
Because if you'll notice in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, it seems to set up time as like a continuous loop.
Uh-huh.
Because, Harry had to go back and cast Expecto Patronum
Yes.
to save him. But then in Cursed Child, we get introduced to alternate timelines.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's why you never make a
Work
sequel to
together.
something with time travel.
or just follow the fucking rules that you set down.
But they always break their own rules. Terminator, Back to the Future, Harry Potter.
Avengers didn't. Did they?
Avengers only had one.
They only did one time travel
True.
movie.
So far.
They haven't done a second time travel movie yet.
But they also set themselves up pretty well.
The only
to
thing
be
close to
easily
time
do
travel
it.
it was Doctor Strange at the Time Stone.
Well, actually, there was time, wasn't? Well, there were references to time travel in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
What's that?
But it's still no longer canon.
True.
Screw that bullshit.
Alright, anyway. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, deep dive number 3. Again, we start out by taking a look at just the through the trapdoor chapter.
Yes.
And then we took a look at the rest of the book. So this is our third time through. So we may repeat some ideas, but I tried really hard to focus on things that felt fresh to me, like we hadn't really taken a look at. So I hope you'll forgive us if we do cover the same territory again. I think at the very least we'll have new perspectives on it, since it's been
Yes.
several years since we did it. And I would also encourage you to go back and check out those other 2 deep dives, as well as the other deep dives for all the books. So we do plan to keep this going. I have enough notes on Chamber of Secrets that I think we can do a whole episode on. As we go forward from there, I think the book started to become more consistent because we're deeper into the story at that
Yeah.
point. So they may be multiple books on one episode.
Yeah.
But again, I think these are good companion pieces of what we've already done. So if you're into what we're doing, go back and check out the others along with this, and you should get a full picture.
Sounds good.
All right, so we will begin now. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone elsewhere. Okay, my first note is just for Chapter 1 at large.
Okay.
Okay. So we know that Harry has a spell on him cast by Dumbledore to protect him, where Voldemort can't touch him as long as he can call his relative's house home.
Uh-huh.
Because he and Petunia share blood, the blood that metaphorically was shed by his mother to protect Harry.
Yes.
So as long as he can call that house home, Voldemort can't touch him within the boundaries of that house.
Uh-huh.
We learn that. I don't think it's mentioned at the end of this book, but we learn that as we go on. But I want to know when Dumbledore was able to put that protective charm on Harry, or on the Dursley's house, whatever it has to be.
Yes.
I'll read my specific notes, and then I'll read the supporting passages. He's only alone with Harry for a moment when he places him on the doorstep. And, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read my writing.
Yeah, you're good.
And no words or magical moments are described.
Uh-huh.
I do say, could the charm have been on the letter that he leaves with Harry? That's possible. You put a charm on an object.
Could be.
I got more notes here, but let's look at these specific pages, because of course Dumbledore shows up on Privet Drive,
Yeah.
makes the lights disappear. He joins McGonagall there, and then Hagrid shows up with Harry. So Dumbledore hasn't seen Harry yet since he died.
Correct.
Not he died, of course.
His parents, yes.
Since his parents died. And so Hagrid comes here. Hagrid's got Harry. Dumbledore and Professor McGonagall bent forward over the bundle of blankets. Inside, just visible, was a baby boy fast asleep. Under a tuft of jet black hair over his forehead, they could see a curiously shaped cut, and they talk about his scarf for a minute. Then Dumbledore took Harry in his arms and turned toward the Dursley's house. Hagrid has to say goodbye to him and gives him a kiss.
Mm-hmm.
Then McGonagall and Hagrid speak a little bit. Then Dumbledore steps over the low garden wall and walks to the front door. He laid Harry gently on the doorstep, took a letter out of his cloak, tucked it inside Harry's blankets, then came back to the other two. For a full minute, the three of them stood and looked at the little bundle. I mean, I suppose maybe he could have cast it then, because we know he can cast spells without speaking.
Could have been doing any of that. He could have been doing it as he was walking to the house.
Suppose, but it just seemed like it would have been described somewhere.
You do think that would have been...
I still like the idea of it maybe being on the letter.
Yeah. That's kind of a nice idea.
But here's my bigger issue with this. How did Dumbledore know that Harry's mom had sacrificed herself the way she did?
That
Magic.
I don't know.
I know later in one of the books he mentions that he guessed
Uh-huh.
at something.
Uh-huh.
I think it's in book 5 when he's talking to Harry after Sirius's death.
Okay.
But
I
I don't know that he's talking specifically about the events of his parents' death.
Yeah.
He wasn't there when it happened.
No.
The only person who was Harry. Even if
Oh,
he used,
was he?
Even if he, I mean, did he use legitimacy on Harry as he was walking up to the doorstep? If he was, why didn't he stop it? Hagrid's the one who went and got Harry, so Dumbledore. I mean, maybe Dumbledore went and viewed the wreckage after Hagrid got Harry. But if that's the case, why didn't Dumbledore get Harry?
The Odin toy box.
I know he talks about magic leaving traces, and we've seen things in Fantastic Beasts where Newt does this nonsense where he can see a whole scene play out in front of him
Yeah.
when he waves his magic dust. So maybe Dumbledore went and inspected the site, but it doesn't seem like he's been to the house at this moment. So how did he know that Harry's mom sacrificed? Did he just guess and like, well, I'm going to do this charm, maybe it will work. I'm sure she would have sacrificed herself, so hopefully it works.
Maybe that's his guessbook, though, seeing the scar, knowing that Harry was alive. It said, he just saw these different things, and it's like, only love would have done this.
Only love would have left a family dead and a baby alone.
That's not what I meant. Oh my god. No, why?
Look,
Wait, deductive reasoning. God is love. Only love would have left a family dead and a baby alone. Voldemort is love. Voldemort is God?
I'm not going down this rabbit hole. No.
wait, if Voldemort's love, then Voldemort's Shrek.
No, definitely not going down that one.
But love is the one thing that Dumbledore says Voldemort fears. Does he fear it because it's him and he just can't deal with himself? is sort of self-loathing.
I think this is a deeper dive than we intended to do.
No, this is exactly as deep as we want to go.
Okay, well, if you want to move on,
This is as deep as Voldemort went.
I think we talked about this before about how Dumbledore left Harry just on the doorstep with no protection there, which I think the protection of the charm he cast only extends to inside the house, but maybe it's like the property boundary.
Maybe.
But even with Voldemort gone, there's a lot of talk about Voldemort supporters still being out there.
Yeah.
And still being, nearly as dangerous as him. So
Yeah.
I have that concern, but furthermore, he's a baby. What happens if he wakes up and just wanders off somewhere?
I mean,
So-
that's a good point.
so-
Especially
so-
since he's one, isn't he?
So, yeah, just over one.
Welcome to Big
He could
Harry
easily
gets
just
hit
started
by a car.
crawling.
Because I'm pretty sure his parents were killed on Halloween.
And that's how Voldemort came back and took over.
Anyway.
The truck driver.
But I'm thinking maybe Dumbledore put a sleeping charm or something on him.
That's very possible.
So maybe if he had time to do the one charm, maybe he had time to do both.
Maybe.
It's like a dog comes and gets him.
Well, the sleeping charm wouldn't have helped there, but I assume maybe he put
Pods
some
boy
sort of
raised by
protection spell
dogs.
there.
Hey, Potter, what you went missing? I mean, like, wow.
Again, I think we've covered the ideas of him just being left unprotected there before.
The dog
I
that
just
brings
wanted to
him
add that
to-
one note.
The dog that
It's
brings
fine.
him to its owner's house.
It's Fang.
So it's some random family.
So wait, why would Fang came all the way down from Scotland to
Yep.
England to get Harry?
Fang had gone missing for a little while during this point. Hagrid never talks
I don't
about
recall
it.
that chapter.
It was a dark time for Hagrid. We don't talk about it.
That's so dumb.
It's a Potter fanfic nobody signed up for.
But the Harry being raised by like the house like 3 blocks down. The Voldemort shows up. Where's Harry Potter?
Well, he
he's a
can't
big
show up.
block
He can't affect him at his relative's house. You'd have to go to the. I mean, he'd go to that house, but and with the charm, well, no, because it only works where your relative is.
Uh-huh.
The Hagrid comes to check on. They send the letter. Nah, it's house 3 blocks down.
But no, if he had grown up in the
Where the
wrong
fuck
house,
is Harry?
you know, like those Death Eaters and all, they'd be going after him, and he'd just been spending the first bit of his life running from them as best as he could. Like, anywhere he
where's
went,
Harry?
just
And I'm like,
destroyed.
what do you mean, where's Harry? We put Harry with you. We never got a Harry.
That sounds like that moonwalk stuff, moon dust stuff you were telling me about
Yeah.
the other day. How Britain lost part of the moon.
Yeah, something like that.
That's a discussion I'm not getting into. All right, page 27 of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I'm going to read a bit to you, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay.
This is when Harry has gone along to the zoo with Dudley and Piers and Dudley's parents for Dudley's birthday,
Uh-huh.
and they're in the reptile house. Harry moved in front of the tank and looked intently at the snake. He wouldn't have been surprised if it had died of boredom itself. No company except stupid people drumming their fingers on the glass, trying to disturb it all day long. It was worse than having a cupboard as a bedroom, where the only visitor was Aunt Petunia hammering on the door to wake you up. At least he got to visit the rest of the house. The snake suddenly opened its beady eyes. Slowly, very slowly, it raised its head until its eyes were on a level with Harry's. It winked. Harry stared. Then he looked quickly around to see if anyone was watching. They weren't. He looked back at the snake and winked too. The snake jerked his head toward Uncle Vernon and Dudley, then raised its eyes to the ceiling. It gave Harry a look that said quite plainly, "I get that all the time." "I know," Harry murmured through the glass, though he wasn't sure the snake could hear him. "It must be really annoying." The snake nodded vigorously. "Where did you come from, anyway?" Harry asked. The snake jabbed its tail at the little sign next to the glass. Harry peered at it. Boa Constrictor, Brazil. "Was it nice there?" The boa constrictor jabbed its tail at the sign again, and Harry read on. This specimen was bred in the zoo. "Oh, I see. So you've never been to Brazil." And of course he goes on to let the snake out, and the snake says, "Brazil, here I come. Thanks, amigo," as he slithers away.
Uh-huh.
We all know that Harry's a Parseltongue, no big deal. But the snake starts communicating with Harry before Harry says anything to it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? He's looking at Harry and winking. He rolls his eyes. Harry hadn't spoken to him at that point. So why did the snake think that he could communicate with Harry?
It's a snake sixth sense.
Harry hasn't revealed himself as a Parseltongue. Furthermore, this snake seems to act a lot more human-like than any other snakes Harry interacts with.
Multiple things. A, I don't have enough memory to respond to that bit. But B, either that sense kind of thing, or the snake just communicates with everybody in hopes that they understand.
I suppose, but I still think...
Very lonely snake.
Okay, whatever. The snake just wants to communicate with someone. He doesn't realize Harry's a parcel mouth. I get that. But I still feel like the snake is more human-like than any other snake we see. Nagini doesn't really act that way. The snake at the dueling club doesn't really act that way.
He's around a bunch of humans all day.
Yeah, with the new retconning of the character. That's not the way it was already.
He's been around humans all day. Also, that snake was probably caught and put back like 5 minutes later.
Yeah, possibly.
There I go. Back in.
It ends the snake off. Do we know what came of that snake?
Yeah.
Also, was Harry Takazi
to go to
speaking
Brazil.
parcel tongue?
Yes.
I think we talked about that in the other deep dive, but does he know when he's speaking and sort of the inconsistencies? So sometimes he speaks and he can't hear himself, and yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Now, on page 23 of the book, we're introduced to Dudley's friend, Piers Polkiss.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute. Hold on, do I have my page? Oh, yeah, okay. Piers Polkiss, who's part of Dudley's, quote, gang, unquote, and he's described as a scrawny boy with a face like a rat. However, on page 31...
He's buff AF.
We meet Dudley's gang again. Piers, Dennis, Malcolm, and Gordon were all big and stupid. So is he scrawny or is he big?
Look, he got a workout.
I mean, I suppose big could mean tall, and you could be tall and scrawny, but...
He got a quick workout.
I think of big as being,
He hit the gym. Okay, he hit the gym a little bit.
I don't have a reasoning behind that one. Because that, yeah. That just sounds like inconsistent writing. So.
Alright, anyway, also on page 31, it says that Harry spends as much time as possible out of the house to avoid Dudley and his gang, because in the summer holidays they're over at the house all the time.
Uh-huh.
So I want to know, does Dumbledore always have wizards watching Harry, as he did in Book 5? Because again, I referenced this earlier, I'm pretty sure it's in Book 5 where they say that when Harry was young, he needed to be protected from Voldemort's followers.
Yeah.
Some of which were nearly as bad as he was.
Yeah.
So again, he's safe in the house, presumably just from Voldemort even. I would assume his followers could probably break through the charm.
Possibly.
So, but outside the house, he's definitely at risk to Voldemort and anybody else. So, does he have wizards tailing Harry his whole life and we just find out about him in Order of the Phoenix?
Have been in a bush.
No, I'm
I see Harry on the playground.
Well, I mean, like, they were using Mad Eye's invisibility cloak in the 5th book.
Could have been anything. I mean, they could have just been chilling.
Well, lots of people... Harry's invisibility cloak is an especially rare one that lasts through the ages, but there are other invisibility cloaks that are either sewn out of Demiguy's hair or have a charm placed on them that'll eventually wear out over time.
Some of them could have just been disguised living in the neighborhood.
They may be some. Well, yeah. I mean, Mrs. Fig, we find out, of course, is a friend of Dumbledore's, but she can't really do anything for Harry.
No, but I'm saying that could have been people who could have been like protecting him and whatnot, but also.
Well, in the 5th book again, when Harry has his trial, Cornelius Fudge says there's no record of any other wizards living in Harry's area. That situation has always been closely monitored. So it seems to be that wizards were never living in the neighborhood.
Watching him. I guess they've got some magical thing.
I don't think Dumbledore trusted the Ministry, but you said people living in the neighborhood.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
And so I'm just answering. I'm just answering that.
I'm like, well, then I guess the Ministry was supervising him.
Oh no, I'm supervising him, and they got lucky. No, they're like, she'll be fine.
Years later, they're just trying to play it off like, yeah, you were fine. We had it all under
That's Dumbledore, not so. I'm sure I'll be fine. I totally know what I'm doing.
Man, my handwriting is really bad.
I'm not just some old man.
I think that says Snape.
What about Snape? I recently saw a meme about Snape. I've learned a lot of people don't like Snape.
Ah, Snape and Lily, that does make sense.
Hey, that's what the meme was about.
He is kind of a jerk, but like...
Who, Snape? Yeah, Snape's a real jerk.
Oh, people go on about how he's a terrible person.
He's still one of my favorite
that.
characters, and he does... I mean, he's a weird dichotomy, because he is a good person, and he does help a lot, and he does protect people, but he's also...
But he's an asshole.
Yeah.
Everyone's calling people...
He's an asshole that does good
People
things.
say there's a bunch of things, but one of the big things that I've seen some people point out like the meme I saw today, was pointing out that had Voldemort gone for the Longbottoms, he probably would have still been a Death Eater.
Yeah.
That he turned because he went after Lily.
Yeah.
That if it wasn't for that, he'd still be...
But I mean, look, that's just human nature. Sometimes you need a big shocker. You just need something to get you. It doesn't mean that he's regretting not still being a Death Eater, that deep down he didn't know it was wrong. It just took that to jar him out of it. What you were saying something?
No, I personally still love Snape.
You were saying something. You said Voldemort.
Nah, I thought I was about something like, nah.
Just Voldemort or Voldemort?
I still say Voldemort.
I know supposedly the author says, hey, Voldemort, but they still allowed the movies to say Voldemort.
Plus, it's spelled with a T at the end.
Well, it could be a silent letter.
Silent are dumb.
But to be fair, he had to arrange his name to spell something out.
I don't care.
He didn't have to.
And you can see Voldemort just wanting to be contrarian, like, it's a silent letter! It's silent! Say it again and I will curse you!
Say it again, Voldemort,
Avada-kedavra!
It probably kills someone the first time they say it.
But that's the thing that always bugged me is like, okay, the T was supposed to be silent, but in the movies they always say Voldemort. You couldn't have spoken up then?
Rather than in the audiobooks.
I'd have to listen to one again.
Okay.
I have heard them, but I didn't pay that much attention.
I tried to type Voldemort.
I mean, obviously I paid attention to Jim Dale's reading. I just wasn't necessarily thinking, okay, I gotta pay close attention to say Voldemort or Voldemort.
Guys, I tried to type Voldemort. I hit B instead of V. It's not Voldemort.
Voldemort?
Yep, Voldemort.
Voldemort, Colorado.
Yes, I was trying to.
Voldemort canonically fucked. Why is this a thing?
I forgot that there is a fan-made Voldemort.
Why is this canon?
Well, there are ways to artificially inseminate somebody. You don't actually have to have sex, so I mean, magically, you probably could pull off the same thing.
I mean, yeah, but we don't know.
I mean, I figured I want to say he got drunk or something, and Bellatrix took advantage of him, but I don't want to see Voldemort getting drunk either. So.
Voldemort's like, yeah, I've been resurrected. Let's have a party.
I'm gonna get drunk and get fucked up! Where my Death Eaters at? Okay, moving on. To page 34, I believe, is my next note. Yes, okay. 34. The mail shows up. They heard the click of the... Oh, actually, this starts on page 33. They heard the click of the mail slot and the flop of letters on the doormat. Get the mail, Dudley, said Uncle Vernon from behind his paper.
Yes, get the mail.
Make Harry get it. Get the mail, Harry. Make Dudley get it. Poke me with a smelting stick, Dudley. Harry dodged a smelting stick and went to get the mail. 3 things lay on the doormat. A postcard from Uncle Vernon's sister, Marge, who was vacationing on the Isle of Wight, a brown envelope that looked like a bill, and a letter for Harry, which of course is his first Hogwarts letter.
Yes.
So my question is, why did the first letter come through the mail slot?
Why not?
It clearly says, he picks it up. The envelope was thick and heavy, made of yellowish parchment, and the address was written in emerald green ink. There was no stamp. So it didn't get delivered through the post. It had to have magically been sent. So the owl flew it in and flung it through the mail slot.
Now Hagrid in the bus.
Could have kind of dropped it.
If Hagrid had it, he would have just knocked on the door with it.
Now Hagrid's in the bus and slipped it in the mailman's bag.
Oh, I'm saying that.
Speaking of, let me get to this and then we'll come back to that since I mentioned that. In Book 7, Snape tells Lily that normally Hogwarts letters are delivered by Owl, but since she's Muggle-born, wizards would come to talk to her parents. So shouldn't wizards be coming to talk to the fucking Dursleys? They just assume just because Lily's sister was there that they didn't need to send wizards? They got this.
I guess they kind of assumed that
Hagrid
not only
is shy sometimes,
not only
okay?
What is this Hagrid? He's the only representative for Hogwarts. He does everything for them.
Hagrid was shy.
Not only was she
He's
there and all
going
that,
out
but
and doing fundraisers
also,
for him and shit.
but also because they kind of knew Hay and had that letter and explanation and all that from Dumbledore. I guess they just kind of assumed they've been waiting on this. It's all good.
But then again, if they assumed they knew everything about wizards, couldn't an owl have just flown it in? Why did it have to come with the regular mail?
Like I said, maybe the owl is just trained a certain way. So with this first letter, it kind of just tried to drop it like normal.
And it timed it
That's
just
a trick shot from the
Not that, but it had to do it while the postman was putting it through.
It could have been
It had
sitting
to
on the
zoom
roof waiting.
right through there.
It could have been
I
sitting
don't
on
think
the
it
roof
just dropped
waiting.
it onto the pile because I'm assuming the postman would have noticed and been like,
Maybe.
"What is this? I can't live with this. It has no stamp." Where'd it come
Maybe.
The
But
Twitch
we don't,
shot,
this
yeah.
is magic.
My thought is that,
That's a dude
whatever
perfect owl.
wizarding rep they sent was just being lazy. Like, oh, I don't know this one. Just
Hagrid
toss
was
it in
shot.
there.
Okay.
It ain't fucking Hagrid. It's not.
Hagrid is
was
probably-
shot.
It's not always Hagrid.
It's always Hagrid. Please show
When
me a
dealing with
situation
Harry,
when it's
it's
not
always-
Hagrid.
When dealing with Harry, it's always Hagrid.
At least.
Okay.
All right, moving on.
He was feeling a bit shy. He was like, oh, not bad.
Okay, well, actually, all this is going to be about the letters. So then move on to page 38. I'm going to have to find the note here. It's like, next morning at breakfast, everyone was quiet. The mail arrived. There's another letter. And again, why is the letter coming in the mail again? On page 39, I think they come with the mail again. Yeah, because that's when Harry repairs the alarm clock and he tries to go and get the mail. He's going to go down to the corner of the street and wait for the mail person.
Uh-huh.
But he trods on Uncle Vernon, who's sleeping by the mail slot, so Harry can't get his letter. And the mail arrives, spills right on Uncle Vernon's lap, and there's more letters. Again, why are we using the post office still?
Nobody knows.
And now on page 40,
Wait, what if the mail guy is the Hogwarts person? So he's kind of in on this.
maybe. Or he could be bewitched.
That too.
Come to
The
think
male
of it.
guy is Hagrid.
He'd be... It's not always Hagrid.
Juice potion.
Yeah, I'm sure a fucking 12-foot tall giant delivering the mail wouldn't stand out.
Like I said, probably juice potion.
This ain't the 8 feet tall Hagrid from the movies. This is real Hagrid, who's like 10 to 12 feet tall.
Don't stand in the hall.
Hagrid can't use Polyjuice Potion because he's half giant.
Damn
Lupin
it.
explains that in the 7th.
Well, it's some sort of magical spell.
That book right
The
there,
mother
Lupin
can't see
explains it. They don't have to check him to make sure to weed him out as being an imposter after they feel like they've been betrayed because it's for human consumption, not half giants.
Nice. What would it happen
He's
if
a
he
big
did
boy mailman. Who's
no,
gonna look at the mailman?
guess he
I
just
don't really
wouldn't
want to
work.
mention how tall he is. He might
Probably
be
just get like
self-conscious
indigestion
about
or something.
that? Possibly.
Get the runs.
Guys, by the way, I just looked up the T thing, and we all know how J.K. Rowling says that it's silent, but
You
apparently,
said her name. I've been avoiding
I'm
that.
sorry,
that.
but apparently,
Try not to give her any more pub than we already are by reading her creations.
apparently she herself still pronounces it with the T, and pretty much always has. So it's like, is it silent or not?
Well, wait a minute. Should we say it with the T or should we not now in protest of her?
I don't know.
No, I'm just joking. Anyway, moving on with the letters. On page 40, on Friday, no less than 12 letters arrived for Harry. As they couldn't go through the mail slot, they had been pushed under the door, slotted through the sides, and a few even forced through the small window in the downstairs bathroom.
Well,
So again, who's shoving them through all those places? Is that
Hagrid!
really post office procedure?
It's
I don't think it's post office.
And again, at this point,
it's visiting post office.
at this point, clearly the letters aren't getting there. So why hasn't a wizard come?
It's Hagrid.
I have
He's
to
a
wonder
pushing
that.
dude.
I mean, why are they just sending letter after letter after letter?
That's a lot of paper they're wasting.
Yeah, but also isn't it like, I assume she doesn't actually write out every single letter. But isn't it like McGonagall having to do some magic stuff for this?
I don't know, but on Saturday, things began to get out of hand. 24 letters to Harry found their way into the house, rolled up and hidden inside each of the 24 eggs.
Oh, that's just a spell I
That
dumped.
very confused milkmaid had handed opportunity through the living room window. I get that, it's magic. So again, you're using magic to deliver the shit. Why not just send a wizard? Knock, knock, knock! Can I talk to Harry, please?
Maybe,
Hagrid,
see, the
that's
thing was,
Hagrid
the plan
automatically
was
do
to
that.
send Hagrid, but Hagrid had some business that he was attending to at the moment. He was still dealing with Fang. 11 years later, Fang had gone off again.
Was Fang even around when Harry
I
was...
don't know.
Would
first taken from
Hagrid,
his
would Hagrid
parents?
even have enough magic to put
But
him in
all
the
I know is, well, no, I'm saying that with Hagrid. So he's having to take care of some business and whatnot. So they're just trying to stall until he can come in, and then they gotta wait for him to actually get there and deal with.
I love how your story is Fang has been missing for like 11 years.
No. He came back. He went missing again.
You know,
It
my
happened.
story is Hagrid is like going around delivering mail. Even delivering mail to normal people.
Based off the cake, I'm not sure that went well.
He doesn't want to see Harry. He's too shy to see Harry right now.
Is he delivering all the mail on Sirius's bike?
Probably.
Okay, you know what we need for a thumbnail for this episode. You got like 48 hours to do
Oh,
it.
damn.
Start drawing.
Let's see what I can do with the
Open up
finger.
Photoshop.
Alright, let's move on to Chapter 4, The Keeper of the Keys, my favorite chapter in
Everybody's
this book.
favorite chapter.
Specifically page 48 and 49, when Hagrid breaks down the door unintentionally. Finally, a wizard came to deliver Harry his letter. Took him long enough.
He woke up the clothes. Okay, he woke up the clothes.
No, he finally got tired of it. Dumbledore was like, no, we don't have to do anything drastic. Just send another letter, McGonagall. And Hagrid's like, no, screw it. I'm kicking down the door.
I think he was just knocking and it fell.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, he introduces himself. True, I haven't introduced myself. Rubius Hagrid, keeper of keys and grounds at Hogwarts. And again on the next page he reiterates, and like I told you, I'm keeper of keys at Hogwarts. That keeper of keys thing gets dropped really quickly. I'm not sure it's ever mentioned again after that.
Yeah,
page.
I don't think so.
Certainly not after the first book.
Someone's like, guys, I don't have my keys.
He's still the
Hagrid, I need my
groundskeeper,
keys.
but no keeper of keys anymore. And how many keys are there? Aren't most things locked by magic anyway?
That's what I'd assume.
Someone's like, I can't get into my office, Hagrid. You have my keys.
Or it's just like, we have to give him something to do. Magic some keys to him. And carry them around. Make him feel
Hagrid's in the
important.
bathroom
I
right
mean,
now.
look, they have Filch sitting there cleaning up the place when clearly they could just do it by magic, so they're just trying to give him something to do. I guess they just
Why,
made these
though?
keys.
He doesn't even seem happy about it.
I know, we've talked about that. Clearly he's happy in the
Would
Wizarding
Hagrid
world.
to break a toilet?
We don't question this.
Do you think he just goes in the woods?
I don't
I'm just
question that.
saying.
I mean, apparently there was something about how wizards used to just go in their pants and magic get away, but I really don't want to think about
That's
that in any
disgusting.
context.
I'm not sure how hidden that really
I
is
hate
at this
that.
point. I mean, we just learned what we learned about the tea, so I don't know what to believe about the Wizarding world anymore. It's like if it
But
didn't
I'm
happen
not
in
sure the
books, I don't
Silent T
believe
was
it.
ever written anywhere. I thought that was just one of the musings where she said it out loud.
Yeah, what's call it? It was like
talk
said during an interview or something. That's
I'm pretty sure the stuff about
or in a tweet.
the waste removal was actually written in some like the Wizarding World writings,
Yeah.
or Pottermore writings.
Yeah. I think the
Anyway,
tea
let's
was
get on.
said online.
Let's get on to my stuff, damn it. I'm the important one. All right, page 51 now. Still the same chapter,
Okay.
and Harry gets his letter. And it reads, Dear Mr. Potter, we're pleased to inform you that you have been accepted to Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Actually, it says at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry.
Nice.
Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on September 1st. We await your owl by no later than July 31st. I bring this up because I'm almost positive, and I'm 100% positive, that in subsequent books, the letters arrive later than July 31st. Because that's Harry's birthday. I think more often than not, they come after Harry's birthday.
Uh-huh.
But, I mean, again, that date could be adjusted per year. It doesn't necessarily have to be July. Maybe just this year it was July 31st.
Maybe.
But still, that no later than July 31st date, the letters almost always come later than that in subsequent books.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe it's not this first letter. It's
don't
his
know.
first letter. So, it's like the first.
But isn't every year it's somebody's first letter? So you tell me letters come out at different times later? So even though Harry's getting the letter on like August 12th, Colin Creevy got his on July 28th?
I was gonna say maybe like all the first years, the newer students, they get theirs sooner because it's a little newer to them, you know.
I mean, to be fair,
Like
yeah,
that
they would
kind
have
of
to know,
thing.
they would, since it's not compulsory for British wizards and witches to educate their children at Hogwarts, they would have to let them know that they're coming. But then wouldn't they have to let them know every year they're coming back? Because they could transfer.
I mean, maybe, but maybe.
But I guess then it's, the impetus is on you to send in the transfer forms.
Yeah. So maybe this is like they send out the ones for later years, later in the year. Like, yeah, y'all. We kind of already know what's going on with y'all, but here's what you need for the year.
Yeah.
You got like a month to get
I
it.
gotcha, yeah. Alright, continuing on. Much less than that sometimes. Sometimes they get it like right at the end.
Yeah,
They're shopping like the weekend before.
that's what they spend their week before school doing.
Anyway, on page 52, Hagrid exclaims, Galloping Gorgons! That reminds me! What the hell is a Gorgon?
I don't know.
I mean, I think it actually is something in like...
That sounds like something.
It's something that's
I think it's in like Greek mythology or something, but it's
Yeah.
never really mentioned again in any of the Harry Potter books. So it's just weird for him to pull that out and then never
Nice.
go back to it.
That's a good one.
Actually, I think isn't Medusa a Gorgon?
Yes.
Yeah,
And I'm actually really sad that I didn't realize that sooner.
me too.
Because not only was I literally just reading Medusa stuff, but also that's Deuce's last name from
Pretty
Monster High.
Pretty sure she's referred to as a Gorgon in Clash of the Titans, which is one of my favorite movies as a kid.
Why are they galloping?
Likely related to Snake.
But anyway, it's just weird that he pulls that phrase out and it's never brought up again.
It's got
It seems like it's going to be like a common exclamation.
It does
in
have
the
a whole
Wizarding.
Harry Potter wiki page.
It feels like it's going to be a common exclamation in the Wizarding world, and then it's just not.
Nah, it's a Hagrid.
It's not even Hagrid's preferred term. He doesn't ever even say it again.
He just says it once.
Maybe he meets the Gorgon or something. It's like, I better stop saying that. Might be offensive.
Later on, he just says, fuck!
A dark magical creature.
All right, here's something I'm going to touch on multiple times. See, it even says, see also note for page 61 and page 135. So let me just read a little bit and see if y'all can figure out exactly what it is that I'm trying to point out.
Probably not.
Hagrid rolled up the note, gave it to the owl, which clamped it in its beak, went to the door, I butchered that. Hagrid rolled up the note, gave it to the owl, which clamped it in its beak, went to the door, and threw the owl out into the storm. And then I believe 61 is also referenced. No, it's not Hagrid chucking the owl.
I'm just
That is
saying,
interesting.
like, he's just eating an owl.
It's like a football pass.
Goodbye, though, very far.
That's true.
Might twist the
He's halfway to Hogwarts already.
Right, anyway, also on page 61,
Is the owl okay?
he sat up and on page 61, the body of an owl was found today, smashed into bits in front of a tree. No, seriously. Is the intro all over again? No, listen.
To calm down,
Was the owl prepared for this?
No,
I don't think he really, Michael picked it down the field. I think he just, tossed it out gently.
He's also a giant, though. How gently is his gently?
He could be a gentle giant, and he's a half giant.
True.
You're talking about knocking down dirt by his knocking.
Yeah, I know sometimes when he pats his friends on the back, on the shoulders, they, sink to their knees or fall over, but I mean...
He tries.
Chucks an owl.
We know he wasn't trying to hurt
Okay,
the owl.
but listen, that's not the point that I was trying to make. Listen to these and see if you get where I'm going. He sat up and Hagrid's heavy coat fell off him. The hut was full of sunlight. The storm was over. No, I think your brother broke my ribs the other day.
Well, damn.
You broke your ribs.
It was your head.
I don't know what happened.
The hut was full. The hut was full of sunlight. The storm was over. Hagrid himself was asleep on the collapsed sofa. And there was an owl wrapping its claw on the window, and a newspaper held in its beak.
Uh-huh.
That's not funny, I know. Okay, well, I gotta find
An owl's on one side.
An owl is bringing the newspaper to alert them of the news about the other owl. Like, what the fuck did you do?
I'm dead.
I was coming after Hagrid like, tick, 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 I know what you did.
This is fan film.
Alright. No, come on, now 135. Let's see. I believe this is mail day at Hogwarts. Yes, just then the mail arrived. Harry had gotten used to this by now. Well, not mail day, but mail time.
Uh-huh.
But it had given him a bit of a shock on the first morning when about 100 owls had suddenly streamed into the Great Hall during breakfast, circling the tables so they saw their owners dropping letters and packages onto their laps. Hedwig hadn't brought Harry anything so far. She sometimes flew in to nibble his ear and have a bit of toast before going off to sleep in the owlery with the other school owls. This morning, however, she fluttered down between the marmalade and the sugar bowl and dropped a note onto Harry's plate. So do you see what my issue might be here?
No.
In all these instances, two of them are spelled out explicitly. One is implied because the owl... What?
In the beak?
Exactly.
Okay.
Later on, especially post... definitely post-chamber, maybe post-Azkaban. Maybe I think in Azkaban is when we start to see they'll tie the stuff onto the owls.
Yeah.
But in this case, they're carrying them in their beaks. So, A, why the switch? B, that's kind of uncomfortable for the owl, right? Having to hold that in their beak the whole time.
Yeah, and also they don't want owl saliva.
But it's just weird that hundreds of years of owl delivery and just during Harry's time they finally realized maybe there's a better way.
Maybe. But, real quick, because you told me to Google that, but I didn't want to change my page.
I didn't tell you to Google anything.
Fine, I'm Googling it.
I don't
Google it. We have a book right here.
Is the book going to tell me if owls have saliva?
Dude, this is gonna be a two-parter.
Okay. But no, I looked up about the Gorgon, whatever thing in Harry Potter, and it lists the appearances. It says it appears in somebody's poem or something. But, yeah, book-wise, it appears in the Philosopher's Stone. End of story.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it doesn't appear in any other book.
And then it says first appearance, Wonder Book, Book of Spells, and by mention, it's in Hogwarts Mystery, which is, I think, the mobile game. So, that's the thing.
There's so many things, so I don't have the effort.
All right, so we've made page 3 of my notes now.
Nice.
50 minutes in, and now we're going back to page 54. All right. Oh, here we go. Like the thing, Hagrid seems. Yep. Page 54. Here's just another little one. Gulping gargoyles, Harry. People are still scared. Again, gulping gargoyles. We never hear that again. These little colloquialisms of Hagrid, we don't really hear anymore after this book.
Do they just change like per book?
It's like he was gonna be. No, not really. It's like he was like super earthy, and he gets a little more refined later on.
Why does it always start with the G?
It's a good question.
Who knows?
Page 61. I think it's just another instance of an owl carrying something by beak. Oh yeah, I made that note already. So we're gonna make a big jump here to page 91. We might be able to get this all in one episode.
Maybe.
We're in chapter 6 now. The journey from platform 9 3/4. Hold on. I gotta zoom into my notes here. Yeah, my handwriting was particularly bad during this. I was afraid that I was gonna have trouble reading it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's Weasley's. It looks like the first letter is an L. So I was debating between being the Dursleys or the Weasleys, neither of which start with an L. It looks like the Leasleys.
Nice.
Ah, yes, I know. Page 91.
Wait, real quick, I was going to say, some birds have saliva things, some birds don't, like pelicans.
I don't even think owls poop.
I thought they did.
Pretty sure they don't, because that's why they have to regurgitate the bones and stuff.
Well, this is not what I'm looking at. And it's the second thing that shows up. See, do owls attack humans? Do owls poop?
These are the priorities.
I love an owl. One day I want to have a barn in the backyard just to have owls live in it.
Nice.
Or a silo or something.
I want to chuck it out.
But we have to be careful we have small pets.
I don't want to chuck
The
it
owls
out.
might,
According to this, they do poop.
Okay.
They poop similar to most birds.
Well, somebody told me that one time, and it seemed strange,
And
but I believed them.
And it's actually
That's my
believed that
fault.
it's more of the pee, and that there's not much poop involved.
So it's pretty much that they pee.
For the most part, but they do have poop, apparently.
Anyway, page 91, the journey from platform 9
Things you learn
3/4.
on this podcast.
The Dursleys have just dropped Harry off at King's Cross Station, and he's confused, doesn't know how to get on the platform or anything else. I hear how this happens in the movie. Yeah. According to the large clock over the arrivals board, he had 10 minutes left to go, or left to get on the train to Hogwarts. So it's 10 till 11. The train leaves at 11. Then all of a sudden, at that moment, a group of people passed just behind him, and he caught a few words of what they were saying. Packed with muggles, of course. So my point is, the Weasleys just arrived at 10 till 11.
That's reasonable.
They're cutting it awfully close, because they always make it seem like that train's leaving at 11, no matter what. They're always in a hurry to get on the train. At 10 till 11, they haven't even gotten through the barrier yet?
At the same time, though, it feels reasonable. You know,
Well,
they've
they
got a lot of kids.
packed.
Yeah, they've got a lot of kids. They're trying to make sure
I
everybody's
mean, to be fair, they do seem to cut it close in most of the books, but still.
Everyone had to wake up. Everyone had to have a shower. Everyone had to eat breakfast.
So
Everyone
you
had to
get up
dressed.
early.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they
They
still
don't want to get up too early.
They still got to go through and do it all. And you know, Ron probably misplaced
I wonder how
some
they
stuff.
got there. Like, you know, we see them take the cars in the third book.
Yeah.
Well, they take their. I guess they took their car because they took that in the first. They took that in the second book, so they took their car. Never mind.
Okay. But you know, Ron probably misplaced stuff. The only kid that they weren't trying to make sure had Hogwarts stuff was Ginny. But they still had made sure she was dressed and could go.
Yeah.
So that's got a lot of kids that got to deal with. Like Fred and George would probably try and play tricks and whatnot throughout the morning. The only kid that was probably actually ready to go was Percy.
Yeah, one bar slept in.
He may have fallen back asleep. But I'm saying he was probably missing stuff.
Anyway, on page 94, Lee Jordan, the Weasley twins' friend, is showing off something in a box. When he opens the lid, something pokes out a long, hairy leg. And Fred and George elaborate on that on page 98 when they say, listen, we're going down the middle of the train. Lee Jordan's got a giant tarantula down there. Whatever happened to his giant tarantula? Never gets mentioned again after
It died.
It suffers the same literary fate as Fluffy, even though Fluffy still gets mentioned from time to time, but the tarantula just goes away.
It ran off to the first.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, also, given what we know about Aragog, would this really be giant? Or is it maybe a baby acromantula?
It could be a
Ran off
baby.
to live with
It could
Aragog.
just be a giant and regular tarantula term.
It's Aragog's adopted son.
Yeah, it ran off and grew up in the first, probably. But also, my question is, why does he have a tarantula?
I mean, why not?
Yeah, but like, why are you bringing a tarantula with you to Hogwarts?
It's his pet.
I know you're going to say
That's
they
not
don't...
an option.
But a rat's not an option either.
Facts.
It's an owl, a frog,
A
or
cat.
an owl, a cat, or a toad.
Yeah. What the fuck is Ron doing with a rat?
Smuggling it in.
What's with smuggling
It's
animals
really
into
weird
Hogwarts?
considering that rat's a man, but he doesn't know that.
I mean, that's weird, but you'd also think that Hogwarts, after the whole...
Where'd he get him?
It was Percy's rat originally.
Yeah.
And Bad Pussy get him?
I mean, the Sirius contends that he went to live with the wizard family so he could keep up with the news, so I guess he just wandered up there one day.
When did Pussy...
Pussy was like, can we
start
keep
attending
it?
Hogwarts?
Well, he's in his, 5th year at this
I
point?
don't know.
Yeah, because his 3rd year's... Harry's 3rd year is Percy's last year, because he's the head boy. So, 4 years before this?
Man, what's the chances that he'll end up living with Harry
Why
Potter's
do you
best
ask?
friend?
Oh, it's
I
just
know,
like
right?
that also means that he spent however many years before the whole Hogwarts thing, at least. I guess he could have been there beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the first year Ron had him, because Percy just got Hermes for being made a prefect.
Yeah. But, I was saying something before that.
Cool.
Oh yeah, I was trying to say, you'd think that Hogwarts would be a little stricter about this animal stuff after the situation of Aragog and the Basilisk however many years ago.
Well, I don't think the Basilisk was considered somebody's pet.
Then my pet,
No,
the
but-
Basilisk!
They're sitting here like, fuck, this thing's in the was in the castle. We should probably be a little stricter about what
Apparently
people...
everybody but Dumbledore was like, oh, well, that monster was just in the Chamber of Secrets. No, I don't think... No, it's fine. That was the monster. We're all good.
But I'm saying, after all that, you'd think that they'd be a little bit stricter about
But nobody
these
believed that
animals.
Hagrid brought the... That's the point, is nobody believed that Hagrid brought Aragog in. They believed that he was the monster in the chamber.
True.
So old Slithy left him there.
True.
Anyway, moving along. Page 95. We're getting on the train now. Wait, do I have the right note here?
Imagine if Neville, the boy who lived. Neville probably wouldn't have been like so best friends with Ron. I mean, maybe.
Don't know. We should totally.
Oh, yeah.
I want that series, though. I want the series, but told as if, like, if Neville had been.
Yeah. Neville could be like a completely different character.
Could be.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, this note starts on 95 and continues on 96. So, Harry's already on the train. He's kicking back. Meanwhile, outside, the oldest boy, speaking of Percy, came striding into sight. He had already changed into his billowing black Hogwarts robes, and Harry noticed a shiny silver badge on his chest with the letter P on it. So, they don't even cross the barrier until after 10 till. And yet Percy has time to stow all his stuff and change into his robes and come back out and say goodbye to his mom.
Magic.
Percy is a very organized and efficient person.
Still takes time to do things.
Yes, but he can do it quickly. He's like, all right, I'm good to go. I love you,
Also,
Mom.
Harry would probably be a different character.
Yes, he would be.
He'll probably know about magic.
Yeah, he definitely would have.
Man, I want this.
He would have grown up to be very similar to Ron, as far as magic goes. The difference would have been he would have been rich. Which, I don't know how rich
He's
they would have been,
pretty
but he would have been richer than
Harry's
the
pretty
Weasleys.
rich.
I mean,
Harry's
yeah.
loaded.
I'm just saying, though, if his parents were alive and he hadn't just inherited all that money would be being used.
It's still being used. I mean, Harry has to buy shit.
Well, yeah.
What does that have to do with anything, though? I missed something.
We're just talking about
We're talking about what it would be like if the story was with Neville instead of Hay.
Yes.
Well, anyway, speaking of wizarding money and what you do to get money, on page 99, Harry and Ron are hanging out in the compartment on the train, and Harry asks Ron, "Are all of your family wizards?" asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron found him. Yes, I think so," said Ron. "I think Mom's got a second cousin who's an accountant, but we never talk about him," inferring that they have a second cousin who's not a wizard, thereby a muggle, or a squib in this case, perhaps. But he just calls him an accountant, so does that mean there's no accountants in the wizarding world? I mean, aren't there wizarding institutions that need to balance the budget?
Depends on what kind of accountant we're talking here.
I'm just saying, I mean,
Stop.
money has to be used. I mean, they use money in the wizarding world. Somebody needs to keep up with it.
No, nobody keeps up with it.
And I mean,
We gotta throw it around.
clearly it's established in these books that being a witch or a wizard is not a profession. So you can be a witch or wizard and be something else, and it's not like just having a profession means you're definitely not a witch or wizard.
I've got to think. Maybe there are accountants, but witches and wizards aren't.
I mean, it is kind of weird. Hermione even talks about it'd be fine to ask her parents about the Sorcerer's Stone since they're both dentists. Like, are there no wizarding dentists? I mean, I guess that would just fall into the case of healers.
Probably.
But
I'm saying
it's just the assumption that anybody who has a muggle profession is clearly a muggle. Like, those jobs, those roles don't exist at all in wizarding society. I mean, there's wizarding teachers, there's wizarding police to a degree, there's wizarding government, there's wizarding transportation people. There's a night bus.
I'm just saying, maybe like witches and
bartenders.
wizards aren't the accountants.
They're like wizards.
So they're bringing muggles in to keep up their canuts and shit?
No, I'm saying like the other
Squibs?
creature thing. No, not
Oh, like
squibs.
they're all using house elves and shit?
Maybe, I mean, households could be doing
Goblins,
that.
They're all
But
using
yeah,
indentured servants?
I was gonna say, my mind's out of blank. But we've seen Gringotts.
But there are wizards who, later on, of course, the wizards take back control of the bank, but there are wizards who work with the bank, too. Like, Bill works as a curse breaker, so it's not, I mean, the wizards just not trust themselves to account for money. I'm just saying, I think there are wizarding accountants. So it's weird that he just
I mean,
said
they don't have math
he didn't
classes
say,
at Hogwarts,
he didn't say, yeah, but they don't start there till they're 11.
True. Better know all your math by the time you're 11.
You telling me there's no
kid.
post-secondary wizarding school? There's no, like, wizard college, if you want to, and they could go to a muggle institution and learn if they wanted to.
Possibly.
Are there like wizarding strip clubs?
Of course there are. I mean...
And that Voldemort went to the party.
I'm saying in the adaptation of that story, I hope Snoop Dogg plays Voldemort. If he can do a passable British accent,
No.
or maybe Voldemort took some Polyjuice potion to look like Snoop for that episode.
You've been doing like cooking stuff.
Because your voice, in the books, your voice changes to fit the person whom you're impersonating.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like, "Oh, I'm Goal," or "Hello, I'm Hermione." I mean, your voice actually. Oh no, wait, Hermione becomes Bellatrix. Hey, I'm Bellatrix. I don't know what
Oh,
Bellatrix
God.
sounds like.
So when Hermione became a cat, or like half cat.
Well, she was like half cat.
Yeah.
Did she have a little purr to her voice? Hello, I'm Hermione. She just became Latin.
Oh gosh.
Anyway.
I am concerned.
Alright, page 101. And this is when the lunch lady, that's not what they call her, is it? The lunch trolley? What do they call her?
I don't know.
What?
I mean, here there's around 12:30, there's great clouding outside in the corner, a smiling, dimpled woman slid back their door and said anything off the cart, dears. But the lady who pushes the lunch trolley shows up. Now, I don't know what traditional meal times are in Britain, but it seems strange to me that these kids are going to take a long train ride. It starts at 11 and goes till after dark, so it's, 6 to 8 hour train ride. And the only thing they offer is a cart full of sweets. There's no traditional lunch or anything served. I mean,
Well, maybe they do the sweets and then the lunch is later.
Maybe they know.
A, they
big
never do
breakfast
that.
on-
B, I'm thinking maybe it's possible there's actually more on the cart, and it's just that Harry and his friends usually get sweets.
They don't
could
talk
be
about
that.
the lunch later.
It could also be that.
That's right. There's 7 books. Well, 6 books on the train. They never bother to mention that part of it.
Well,
But also
that's
maybe
important.
I mean, to be fair, this is already 12:30. So when's lunch going to be?
And that's important.
maybe they also know to expect this, so they know big breakfast on school day.
This is
Maybe that's why it took the Weasleys so long.
This is why they have that feast at Hogwarts, because they're all starving. From
Right. They're like,
Having
we know the
nothing
train
but all this
didn't
junk
feed you
food.
very well. Here you go.
Lunch is at like 3 o'clock.
I'm pretty sure that's a snack time.
I don't know, just one of those things that makes me go,
And then they have dinner at like
Lol.
6.
It's only 3 hours in between meals.
I don't know.
Alright, next note is going to be in Chapter 7, the sorting hat, on page 115.
Everybody's favorite. Yee.
It has a sword in it.
I was reading about like wizarding witch hats, whatever, however you want to describe them, the other day, and it was on Wikipedia, so there's like a whole list of different things that they've appeared in, and it was mentioning how they appear as like costume in the books and Harry Potter movies and whatnot, but then like on a note of one of those, they made a note like there's an entire character that's one of these hats.
Yeah. Anyway, page 115, while Harry and the other first years are waiting to be sorted, it's pointed out that Harry has never been more nervous. Never. Not even when he'd had to take a school report home to the Dursleys saying that he'd somehow turned his teacher's wig blue. So I'm just wondering, would a school really send home a note accusing Harry of turning a wig blue if it's still on the teacher's head? Like, how would he manage to do that? Unless he literally threw paint at it or something. Unless, for some reason, the teacher took it off and Harry was left alone in the room with it. I don't see a school saying, oh, Mr. Potter turned her wig blue. I mean,
Wait,
how?
What?
Apparently at one point, a note was sent home from Harry's, not Hogwarts, his pre-Hogwarts school, telling the Dursleys that he'd somehow turned his teacher's wig blue.
They
And I'm
set
saying-
it out for Harry.
That school knows nothing about magic, so what are they basing that on?
He was in detention alone.
With the wig?
Yep.
Did the teacher
Yeah.
fall asleep or something? I mean, I guess that's possible.
Either had to leave the room for a second. The wig fell off as they were leaving the room.
Nobody knows.
Right, also, page 115 to 116, while the students are waiting, the ghosts glide into the corridor with them and then glide on into the feast.
Yeah, ghosts.
But suddenly, he's, of course, it's nearly headless Nick, described at first as a ghost wearing a ruff and tights, had suddenly noticed the first, well, he introduces himself, so, or maybe it's the Fat Friar who noticed him, he's the one that says new students.
Uh-huh.
Wait a minute, I'm missing one point. Oh, yeah, because, nearly headless Nick and the Fat Friar are having a conversation as they glide into the room, and then all of a sudden they stop, and, Nick's talking to the Friar. My dear Friar, haven't we given Peeves all the chance he deserves? He gives us all a bad name, and you know, he's not really even a ghost. I say, what are you all doing here? Referring to the students. And I'm just thinking, in subsequent years, Nick seems very interested in... Do you have to do that while
I'm
I'm
sorry.
making a point?
I didn't mean to.
Anyway, in subsequent years, Nick seems very interested in the sorting.
Uh-huh.
And just like, now all of a sudden he's like, what? Like, he doesn't even know what's going on. He doesn't realize that, you know, they're fixing to have the feast and get sorted.
Something we
Look,
forgot
in all his
that
years,
day.
he was never told that the song exists.
I mean, I'm assuming it's nearly headless Nick, because again, he's described as a ghost wearing a ruff and tights. It's some, well, yeah, because I'm pretty sure in a page or two, it actually says that, you know, that ghost.
Uh-huh. Is it something was just preoccupying him that day? He forgot what day it was, etc., you know?
There was like a day early.
Yeah, it said the ghost in the ruff, and then he introduced himself as nearly headless Nick, so I am right. But yeah, like in subsequent years, Nick's all into the big welcoming feast and the sorting and everything, and this year she's like, oh, is it that time already?
Obviously
Seems
something else was
strange.
going on. Maybe Peeves
What
was
else have you
giving
gotta
him
do as
some
a ghost?
trouble that day. So...
Plus, also on this page, the students react when about 20 ghosts had just streamed through the back wall. How many fucking ghosts are there? I mean, there's the four house ghosts. I know,
Yes.
like, the Headless Hunt comes and hangs out sometimes, but who are these other ghosts?
I don't know.
There's not really mentions of them.
Swearing
We're
people.
gonna find out.
And literally in the books, we know of the four house ghosts, and we know the Headless Hunt comes to hang out, and there's Moaning Myrtle. Those are the
Uh-huh.
only ghosts ever mentioned in Hogwarts.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Nick mentions a couple others that are coming up from other places for his Death Day party in Chamber of Secrets, but they're not ones to
Yeah, not
stay at
very
Hogwarts.
much right here. I mean, I
That's stuff
assume
for the
that
sorting.
maybe
But
this-
again, you're going to other sources, and that's fine. But again, I'm specifically looking at the books and the details they give.
Well, yeah, maybe there's more of something, because I just searched Hogwarts Ghost, and this is just what Google gives me, saying from sources across the web.
Google's always so accurate.
That's what I said, you know, the
Yeah,
moon
go
and
ahead.
whatnot. But it lists Nearly Headless Nick, the Fat Friar, Moaning Myrtle, the Bloody Baron, the Grey Lady, Peeves, and Professor Binns.
I forgot about Professor Binns, but I don't know that he would be hanging out with the other ghosts.
I don't know.
But Peeves isn't a ghost. He's a poltergeist.
It's
And
true.
he's described as the opposite of a ghost. He's not transparent. He's not ethereal. He's fully corporeal. He's just a little man. Not necessarily a human man, but...
What's the difference between a ghost and a poltergeist? Other than what you
Well-
just said. And then they also know what you just said.
Well, yeah, I don't think he's the soul, of the imprint of a soul left on Earth. I mean, I think he's his own unique creature.
Somehow when I searched ghost versus poltergeist,
Well,
ghost is what I misspelled.
Yeah. But again, don't necessarily look to other sources, because this is a poltergeist
yeah.
in this particular world.
I searched ghost versus poltergeist, and poltergeist on the Harry Potter wiki is the third result.
All right. Anyway, getting into the sorting now, which begins on 119 and continues to page 121. There's a few students, including Mandy Brocklehurst and Lisa Turpin, who, in fact, those are the only two first years that we learn of during this sorting that are never mentioned again.
This says for the poltergeist, similar to a ghost, but solid and can move objects, and was never a living human being.
All right. Okay. But I mean, they say somewhere here they say he's the very opposite of transparent. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not here. Maybe it's in Chamber of Secrets. Girl.
I'm sorry.
Maybe it's in Chamber of Secrets when they're at the Death Day party.
Yes.
And they talk about him being the very opposite of the transparent ghosts.
Yeah.
Anyway, getting back to the sorting, Mandy Brocklehurst and Lisa Turpin are the only two students sorted into a house that we never hear from again. We hear two other students being sorted, McDougal Morag and Sally Ann Perkins, but it doesn't say what house they go into. Overall, those are the only four students that we're introduced to in this book, in this group of first years, from which we never hear again. Everybody else comes back in
They transferred.
one form or another.
They transferred to a different school.
So
Possible.
that's not a mistake or anything. That's just kind of a curiosity. Like, hey,
Whatever.
we revisit most of the other students, but these we don't hear from.
Oh, they died.
That's
You know,
possible.
either one.
I mean, this is Hogwarts. Somebody dies every year.
Yeah, probably.
So,
Oh, there's one other student who doesn't get a house, isn't mentioned again, and doesn't even get a first name or a last name. They're just Moon. and since they're called by the last name, I assume that's their last name. So overall, 5 students are mentioned here and never mentioned again. But for the most part, the students we meet in this first year, we all hear from again. Blaze Sabini, Neville Longbottom,
Never was a long ass.
Dean Thomas.
yes.
No, I'm done.
Okay. This is going well.
Okay.
I'm just gonna move on now.
Reasonable.
Okay, that's next.
Page 127, when Dumbledore's giving out his notices, and of course he doesn't mention how you have to be in at least third year to go to Hogsmeade, because Hogsmeade's not mentioned at all until the third book, but I digress. He says, "First year should know that the force on the grounds is forbidden to all pupils, and a few of our older students would do well to remember that as well." Dumbledore's twinkling eyes flash in the direction of the Weasley twins. I just want to point out, we never hear Fred and George going in the forest at all in any of the books.
No.
They did it once, never again.
Does,
So I guess they remember not to go in after all.
does Dumbledore even take the time to point that out each year?
They have secret boys
It
there.
pretty much refers to it, yeah. And starting in the third year, he starts mentioning Hogsmeade. Apparently there is a note on page 140. Okay, I will say, on page 140, Hagrid does say to Ron, "I spent half my life chasing your twin brothers away from the forest." So, apparently the first couple years they didn't remember, but starting in the third
They've
year, I
started
guess
to
they're like,
learn some lessons.
I'm good.
They moved on to
Nah,
better
those are
things.
more secretive this time.
Right.
They have boys there every week.
Got a question. Can either one of y'all remember how many staircases there are in Hogwarts?
No.
Probably
A
like
lot.
100.
It's 142.
Nice.
And I always remember that because the 42 from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Yeah.
Specifically, there were 142 staircases at Hogwarts. Wide sweeping ones, narrow rickety ones, some that led somewhere different on a Friday, some with a vanishing step halfway up that you had to remember to jump. Specifically, I want to bring your attention to the ones that lead somewhere different on a Friday. That's never mentioned again.
No.
But what about the ones with the vanishing
Oh,
stab?
the
That's
vanishing
what-
step comes up a lot. Neville falls through it all the time, and Harry remembers to step over it. And actually, one time he forgets to step over it, gets his leg caught. That's when he's got the invisibility cloak on and he's carrying his egg, and he's got the Marauder's map when he took Cedric's advice to take the bath and take the egg in there, and he drops the map, and Snape's out patrolling, and Filch comes along and gets the egg, and Snape sees the map, and Mad-Eye comes along, and Harry's under the cloak.
How deep
It's
of a
mine.
drop are those?
I mean, Harry gets, like, he falls down and gets stuck enough that it's hard to pull yourself out, because Neville always needs help, and Harry needs Mad-Eye to help him
I
get
hope
out.
they're not big enough where you can do completely
I was
fall
gonna-
through.
that's what-
It seems like
Never
you're,
heard from
like,
those
just
other
one foot
students.
goes through it.
Okay.
I mean, if you only put one foot on the stair.
Are you jumping?
Some people
Jumping
might
up-
just like
The playing on jumping up
Some
the
people are
steps.
just walking that one way to where it takes the brain a minute to stop the other foot before they start falling. You know.
Or they're just
It's like,
messing
oh.
around and jumping up the steps and.
Another early description of the inside of Hogwarts that never really comes back
Sound.
is, let's see. Oh yeah, okay, I guess it technically starts on page 131 and continues into page 132. Then there were the doors that wouldn't open unless you asked politely or tickled them in exactly the right place, which actually is, I think, how you get into, is it the kitchens?
I don't know.
You tickle the pear?
Maybe.
But the students don't really know about that, and that's not really a door anyway. I mean, it is a door, but it's a painting over a door. Doors that weren't really doors at all, but solid walls just pretending. And it also says it was also very hard to remember where anything was because it all seemed to move around a lot. But again, we don't really hear about anything else moving around other than the people in the portraits moving into other portraits. And we never really hear about these fake doors again either.
Hogwarts seems like a very annoying
Which doesn't
place
mean they're
to
not
traverse.
there. There's nothing later in the books that contradicts them existing. We just don't
Yeah.
hear about them.
It's just one of those things. It's like,
They're the
why
Fluffy
is
of
it
interior decorating.
Imagine.
But we hear about Fluffy, so they're the giant tarantula of interior decorating.
Imagine you're like, oh frick, I'm gonna be late to class. You try and go on a staircase, but then you remember, it's a Friday.
Mhm.
So then you're like halfway across the school, and they're like, how do I get to class? Do they even have class? Yeah, class.
They have class every day.
Do they have class on Saturday and Sunday as well?
No.
Okay.
Okay, most days.
But the Friday is a class day.
Alright, we hear about vampires in the Harry Potter world. There's mentions of them in this book, and of course we actually meet one, Sanguini, who's a friend of Horace Slughorn's. We meet him at Slughorn's Christmas party in book 6. Of course, there's werewolves. We meet a couple of them, Remus Lupin and Fenrir Greyback.
Wow.
But
Ooh.
page 134 in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is the only mention of a zombie in the Harry Potter world. Speaking of Professor Quirrell, his turban, he told them, had been given to him by an African prince as a thank you for getting rid of a troublesome zombie. Now again, we know he wears the turban to cover up the fact that he's got Voldemort sticking out of the back of his head. So maybe it's just a lie he made up, but...
Maybe.
Nah, they were the only zombie. They stopped it for a good
I was gonna say, still, you seem like you'd pull from something realistic. It could have been to protect him from a vampire or this or that or whatever, but it doesn't seem like you'd bring up zombies that they didn't really exist in your world. But again, they're never really mentioned. Although, Inferius, I'm not sure what the plural is, the corpses that are reanimated by a dark wizard, we see them later on. That's pretty much a zombie, so maybe they just use that term interchangeably in the wizarding world.
Maybe.
That's a possibility. But this is the only time the word zombie is used in any of the books. Unless maybe at some point they say someone is walking around like a zombie, but as far as specifically referring to an undead creature.
Yeah, if you search Harry Potter zombies, you get that one that you were just talking about.
So they just retconned pretty much.
Sounds
Maybe. But they're never referred to
Oh,
as
God.
zombies later on. They're always Inferius.
Yeah.
I think Inferius is the plural.
Yeah.
Alright, moving on to the very next page, 135. More evidence that owls, and specifically Hedwig. Yeah, that's the other mention of owls carrying stuff in their beaks because they drop stuff, and you'd think it would tie it on, they couldn't just drop it right away.
Now they're great at untying things.
Oh yeah, this is one of my favorite. This is one of these character issues where it's not really a mistake, but it just seems a little off. On page 137 in chapter 8, The Potions Master, when we first meet Severus Snape, he says, "You are here to learn the subtle science and exact art of potion making. As there is little foolish wand waving here, many of you will hardly believe this is magic. I don't expect you will really understand the beauty of the softly simmering cauldron with its shimmering fumes, the delicate power of liquids that creep through human veins, bewitching the mind, ensnaring the senses. I can teach you how to bottle fame, brew glory, even stopper death. very eloquent, flowery speech, which he then concludes with, "If you want as big a bunch of dunderheads as I usually have to teach."
Yeah.
I just think it's funny to use dunderheads after going through all that.
Yeah, but sounds like something Snape would do.
So could do it. So do you actually need magic to make potions?
I think we've talked about this before, too. I'm not sure. Doesn't seem like it.
So like Joe from accounting
As
can
long
make
as
a
you can get
potion.
the ingredients.
The accountant can make a potion. No.
Make some certain types of potion. Really hoping that will
So stop. Stop.
I'm sorry.
Accountants are ruined, okay?
Fact.
Joe from accounting.
Anybody in this
His
room know
life
an
is
actual
ruined.
accountant?
I used to want to be an accountant when I was younger.
Why would you want to be an accountant?
Because I was good at math and you can make a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
Stop it!
I'm sorry.
Anyway.
I'll see myself out now.
Please do.
Alright, anyway, on page 144, there's a lot of talk about Quidditch because this is when the first years are going to begin their flying lessons. And it says that everyone from Wizarding families talk about Quidditch constantly. So I'm just curious, do any wizards or witches ever play any sport besides Quidditch?
No.
Especially Muggle sports like soccer or basketball. I mean,
They
Harry
don't
references
get that.
basketball and Wood has no idea what it is. But I mean, there's still a fair amount of wizards and witches. I know it's a small pocket community within the larger world, but still, they never dabble into any other sports.
I mean,
And then again, if they did,
it's like dueling.
would they use magic? Because I mean, obviously Quidditch involves a certain amount of magic, but you're playing football or basketball. Do you use magic to give yourself a helping hand there?
Like dueling, that's a sport.
But yeah, with spells, it's not
Yeah.
like fencing
Yeah.
or pistol shooting. That's
Or
not really a
wrestling.
sport, though.
It's a wizarding wrestling.
But then again, if wizards did participate in Muggle sports, would they use magic to their advantage? But then again, would they do it subconsciously?
I think maybe that's why they don't participate.
I want to see
in
either.
that.
But then
Hulk-
again, in Quidditch, couldn't you subconsciously cast a spell to make the ball fly better or further?
Maybe,
or
but
around
at least
somebody?
then you're in the visiting world.
Well, you're
people
still,
around
I'm not
know
saying you
this.
have to play the
There's
sport with
things.
Muggles. Couldn't wizards just play a game of basketball by themselves?
No, they decided to be different.
I'm just saying, I want either Hulk Hogan as a wizard, or some sort of wrestler as a wizard, or some sort of wizard as, like, doing a little promo thing.
Both.
Both is good.
Alright, well, anyway, moving on to page 148, there's a little interaction between some of the first year students. Again, this is still during their flying lesson. This is when Neville has broken his wrist and Madam Hooch has taken him off to the hospital wing.
Mm-hmm.
And Malfoy realizes that Neville has dropped his Remembrall.
Mm-hmm. Something about a Remembrall.
It's
Do we ever see that again?
Remember.
It's definitely mentioned in. I want to say it's mentioned in the second book. It's definitely mentioned at least one more time, if not a couple times.
Okay. So that's Fluffy.
I think Fluffy's mentioned a little more. But anyway, yeah, here we go. I should have started on page 147. So, before you even notice the Remembrall, Malfoy starts making fun of Neville. And some of the other Slytherins join in, and Parvati Patil says, "Shut up, Malfoy!" And then Pansy Parkinson chimes in, "Ooh, sticking up for Longbottom? Never thought you'd like fat little crybabies, Parvati." So I'm just wondering, did Pansy and Parvati know each other before Hogwarts? Just curiosity. It's not exactly, but, because it seems like she's awfully familiar with her, and this is their first week of school still. So,
Seems like it.
I mean, it is possible.
oh yeah, it's definitely possible. It's just not something that's ever referenced again.
Yeah.
Well, I take it back. This might not be the very first week, because the tea they had with Hagrid, where Hagrid makes the reference about the Weasleys, him having to chase the Weasleys away from the Forest. That's the end of the first week. So again, we're maybe a couple weeks into the school year. But regardless, one's Slytherin, one's Gryffindor. They're not really hanging out.
Yeah.
Maybe they are.
There's no evidence that those two people are friendly with each other. In general, Slytherins and Gryffindors are not friendly with each other. They barely have class together. They definitely don't share a common room or anything. They don't hang out at lunch or anything. She seems familiar with Parvati.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if maybe they were friends or knew each other at least. Maybe they went to school together before Hogwarts.
Well.
Alright, anyway, moving on to page 150. Again, continuing on from the flying lesson. Once Harry flies up to confront Malfoy, and then he catches the Remembrall, and of course McGonagall catches him, and she takes him off to introduce him to Wood so he can join the Quidditch team, but at least for a moment Harry's afraid he's going to be expelled, because Madame Hooch even said, if any of you get on those brooms while I'm gone, you'll be out of Hogwarts faster than you can say Quidditch or whatever.
Yeah.
So my point is, here's one of the many times where Harry is either fearful of or threatened with expulsion. But given the danger that Dumbledore knows that Harry would be in, what would it really take for him to be expelled?
I mean, that's a good question.
Probably like murdering someone.
I mean, considering I'm sure Dumbledore wants to keep Harry under his watch, I don't really think there's a good chance that Harry was ever going to get expelled.
Me neither.
Yeah, he'd probably have to like murder someone.
Have to do something quite crazy.
To become the next Voldemort.
And that's what I was thinking. Would he have to really be a dark wizard that some people thought he was going to be?
Well.
Alright, well, anyway, moving on. On page 157, Chapter 9, The Midnight Duel, Hermione, this is when Draco has challenged Harry to a duel, and Harry and Ron are going to sneak out to meet him at midnight for the duel, and Hermione and Neville get caught up with him, and then they end up finding Fluffy that night. You guys know the scene, it's pretty well known. But at this point, Hermione threatens that if they get caught, she'll never rest. I'll never rest until I've learned that curse of the bogies Quirrell told us about and used it on you. Oh, no, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Actually, Ron threatens that. Ron says, if either of you get us caught, I'll never rest until I've learned that curse of the bogies Quirrell told us about and used it on you. Then it says Hermione opened her mouth, perhaps to tell Ron exactly how to use the curse of the bogies. But my point is the curse of the bogies the same as the bat bogey hex for which Ginny would become well known later on?
Possibly.
Bogies are boogers, by the way. It's a
Yes.
British term for... Okay. So, I'm just wondering if the curse of the bogies is the same as the bat bogey hex.
Very possibly.
Because we never really hear about the curse of the bogies again, but the bat bogey hex comes up multiple times.
Maybe it's a retcon. Like the zombies.
Well, I understand that retconning is a thing, but I'm trying to find a storyline explanation for any inconsistencies. I'm trying to figure out something within the world of the Wizards that actually makes it make sense. Not so much that... I know that, okay, it was written one way and then later on it made more sense to change it. I get all that.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to find, in-world reasons for this stuff.
I think that's
like
just Ron trying to
different.
communicate what he's thinking
Oh,
about.
yeah, it's certainly possible.
That sort of
Things are
thing.
mentioned and don't get mentioned again because it's not like you see every minute of every day for these wizards and witches.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't see them having lunch.
I'm just wondering if we have one curse mentioned and then another curse mentioned and they're similar, so maybe it's the same
I'm
thing.
saying maybe it's the same thing, and that other name is the more correct one, and Ron was just sitting there, he's kind of scared. He's like, if y'all get us caught. So he just kind of says what he says,
Yeah. Anyway, I apologize, these notes were slightly out of order. I should have given this one first because it occurs on page 156. But same scene anyway. It's when they find Neville. Neville gets caught up with the three of them because he was sleeping outside of the common room because after he had his arm minute, he came back and he didn't know the password. But,
Gosh dang it, Neville.
Harry asked Neville, how's your arm? And it, fine, menopause for minute in about a minute. So my question is, if he got it minute in about a minute, mid-afternoon, why didn't he come back to the common room way before that?
That's a good question.
Why didn't he come back until nighttime once everybody else was already inside there?
That's a good question.
Oh, here's a playing round. Here's falling through the stairs.
He got stuck in a stair. There
Very
you go.
possible.
But then again, who helped him out?
Whoever it was.
There's someone passing by.
We rolled a
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, 5!
Nice.
But then someone was passing by. Neville, are you in the stairs? Yeah, can you help me out?
Question, if somebody's stuck in the staircase, can/will it still move?
I don't know if the trick
Maybe those
staircases
ones
are on the
don't
ones that go different places.
That's the moving
The
staircase.
book does
It's all annoying.
the moving staircases is more of a movie thing where you see the staircases move. It just says that some lead to a different place on a Friday, so the staircases don't necessarily move. Maybe the place they're leading to is what moves. Because we're talking
Maybe.
magic again, so I mean magic can you
That'd
know,
be frustrating. Same path, different destinations.
it can you can obviously play with spatial awareness and magic. I mean,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you gotta plan out your routes to class, but you don't go on those staircases. Or you have to take a completely different route on a Friday.
All right, on page 164, Harry gets his first broomstick, the Nimbus 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Nimbus.
Who paid for Harry's broom?
We don't know.
Because it would have been really unfair for Harry to get an expensive broom like that from the school, and it's not like he's a student who needed the money. He's got plenty of money. He could have bought it on his own.
Hagrid took some from his bank account and paid for it himself.
But that's the thing. I mean, it's possible too that Harry ordered the broom and paid for it. It's just first years weren't allowed to have brooms, and Harry had no reason to think he would need one. So now that he knows he needs one, he could have ordered it, and the box came, and it just came through the school or whatever, and so McGonagall was able to send the note, here's your new broom. But it's possible that he paid for it. It just doesn't explain that one way or the other.
Yeah. I'm still saying Hagrid took some of Harry's money, paid for it.
Which, I mean, to be fair, if the school had paid for it, it seems like they would have replaced it in his third year when the Whomping Willow destroyed his broom.
True.
And Sirius ends up getting him a new broom, but before that, Harry was going to buy one himself, so...
Maybe the school was planning on it, but, it takes some time, and Harry didn't realize it.
It takes so long in the Wizarding World. I mean, you, snap your fingers and get what you need.
Well, no, I'm just saying,
No, I think...
The answer is always Hagrid. Okay.
The more I look at it, I think Harry did buy the broom, and it came through the school or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And McGonagall was able to attach the note to it. But I think Harry actually did pay for it. That makes the most sense, really.
Yeah, Hagrid makes the most sense.
Alright, we are an hour and a half in. I've got 3 pages of notes. Y'all want to just plow through them?
Yes,
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's try not to chalk any owls at trees. Laugh for 50
Alright, here. Page 167. Kind of dangerous for Harry to be out, at the pitch alone.
Uh-huh.
So this is, I guess it's before. It's when Harry's training with Wood for the first time.
Uh-huh.
But Harry goes down by himself and waits for Wood, so he's out there all by himself.
Uh-huh.
So even though, Quirrell was brazen enough to mess with his broom in front of the whole school.
Yeah.
I clearly think he would attack Harry all by himself out of the Quidditch pitch. Admittedly, that part hadn't happened yet, but Dumbledore knows there's some sort of a threat lurking around. And again, Harry's, at more risk than a lot of the students anyway, so it's kind of strange that he's going to be down at the Quidditch pitch all by himself.
Very much.
But, in general, it's not like he's got a guard on him the whole time he's in school.
Nah, Hagrid is always guarding him with his crossbow.
Anyway, also on page 167, speaking of flying, how easy is it to stay on a broom?
Who knows?
Is there a magical force that helps keep you steady?
There might be some.
I'm assuming there's... here's the thing, the magical transportation department can't track it.
Uh-huh.
But then again, they can't track Sirius's bike either, which has to have had a spell put on it for it to fly. So obviously they can't just track any kind of magic. If you were under 17, they'd have the trace, but...
What makes some brooms better than others? Why do you buy a Nimbus 2000 instead of a Nimbus 1000?
I guess just the way they're designed, they've improved.
Oh, these are more comfy?
Maybe.
Because it will not be very comfy.
But that's my main thing.
But the only thing supposed
it's just a thin
is
stick.
a stick.
And you're flying around. It seemed like it'd be really hard to balance on that.
And very uncomfy.
And Harry loops around and goes upside down and stuff. And I know he's, he nearly falls off his broom.
This is why they have training in flying class.
I'm assuming there must be some sort of magical force that helps you stay on the broom.
It's like, imagine if you remove the seat from a bike.
Wait, can I just ask
It's that
do y'all know where the whole story thing of witches flying on broomsticks come from?
No.
Women and brooms.
Putting certain herbs onto the brooms and riding them for certain pleasures.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. That's what that thing. Supposedly they'd get high in which car to do it, or while doing it, whatever. And it's like, that's quite an interesting tale.
So they got high, so someone made a story of them getting high. On the...
Oh, wait, I thought you were talking about they were using the brooms like a sex toy.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, he was talking about getting high.
Yeah, supposedly the herbs and whatnot all had that effect.
Yes,
stuff.
all of the above.
Yeah, all of the above. And that's apparently where the whole witches flying on broomsticks thing comes from.
I've seen more wizards fly on brooms than witches really in Harry Potter.
Yeah, and Harry Potter.
That seems like they'd be uncomfortable on your balls. Just saying.
It seems like it'd go right up your butt crack. You can have a permanent wedge.
It's uncomfortable no matter what.
Because I don't even know if wizards really wear underwear. Because we know that one likes a nice breeze around his privates. That's why he wears the floral nightgown when they're supposed to be dressed in muggle wear at the Quidditch World Cup.
Nice.
Anyway, page 170 is still Wood and Harry out playing with their brooms.
Oh god.
I could hear how much he's trying. He was being completely silent, but I could hear how much he's trying to keep it in.
But anyway, Wood says, we won't practice with the snitch yet. It's too dark. We might lose it. Let's try you out with a few of these. He pulls out a bag of ordinary golf balls that he throws for Harry to chase and catch. So golf balls. So maybe wizards play golf at least. So
Hey,
there's some
golf
evidence.
is a very important sport.
Golf
It
socks.
was invented in Scotland.
No.
Exactly.
So
Golf
I'm
is
just
cool.
used to love golf.
Yeah,
man.
golf is cool.
You had your own little
kick
set
you.
of clubs.
I mean, so.
But anyway, I'm just saying there's golf balls, so maybe wizards and witches do play golf. So
Me.
then there's one sport they play besides Quidditch. Maybe not.
I want to see wizards bowling.
Alright, page 173. The only thing about bowling is wouldn't they always get a perfect game? Of course, then again, would you just use magic and always get a hole in one on every hole in golf?
Oh, look at that! My ball is flying across the sky, just hovering. Oh, and that stopped Dan's tracks and fell at a 90-degree angle. Right in the hole.
Anyway, page 173. This is when the troll gets led into Hogwarts by Quirrell, but we don't know that at this point. Quirrell comes in. Troll in the dungeons. Thought you ought to know. Then he sank to the floor in a dead faint. There was an uproar. It took several purple firecrackers exploding from the end of Professor Dumbledore's wand to bring silence. Prefects! Lead your houses back to the dormitories immediately. And I'm just wondering, would a single troll really be that big of a threat with all the teachers there?
Maybe technically not, but on this as a precaution kind of
No,
thing.
yeah. Wouldn't it be safer just to leave them in the Great Hall and close
And,
off the
shut
doors
them
and have a
in
couple
and have the
guards there
teachers
and then go deal with
it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's what they do
I mean,
when
a
Sirius
couple-
gets in the castle in Azkaban.
I mean, a couple of 10-year-old or 11-year-olds
Deal with the troll. Yeah, so I don't. And even though that was a big feat, I'm pretty sure Dumbledore could deal with it no problem.
Those are
Probably.
I got this.
I'm pretty sure Snape or McGonagall could deal with it no problem. I'm pretty sure Flitwick could deal with it no problem. I don't know that much about Sprout, but she could probably deal with it no problem. The prefects could probably deal with it no problem. I mean, I just don't think it's that big of a threat.
Yeah.
Probably. So.
Oh yeah, this is
He just wanted to let Harry show off.
now we're going to talk about something I referenced a minute ago when Quirrell's messing with Harry's broom during the first Quidditch match. And the book says, this is when Harry's broom first starts bucking. It happened again. It was as though the broom was trying to buck him off. But Nimbus 2000 did not suddenly decide to buck their riders off. Now, I realize the narrator of the book, the assumed narrator of the book, may know that. But Harry doesn't necessarily know that at this point. How much does he know about Nimbus 2000s or brooms and gentlemen? He's sitting on there thinking, Nimbus 2000 suddenly decided to buck their riders off?
That's what other brooms do.
From what I've been reading,
That's a good point, too.
the only thing that Harry knows about them is that he overheard some people saying that they're the fastest ones yet.
Yeah, when he's first in Diagon Alley with Hagrid. That's all I'm saying is, so if that's supposed to be like Harry's internal monologue, kind of, or anybody, I guess some people
the
would
Wizard
know. But
Amazon.
I was trying to think of a funny name for it, but I blanked. I'm sorry.
Well,
Nile. Because of the river.
yeah.
Sahara. I know it's a desert, but I can think of another forest.
But you better pay a bunch of money or you may get bucked off 50 feet in the air. Probably 30 feet in the air.
I don't know.
That's a good fun sport for 10-year-olds to play.
Also
Fall from
referring
30
to
feet.
Also referring to Harry's broom and the problems it's having. On page 190, Seamus says, "Did something happen to it when Flint blocked him?" And then Hagrid, "Can't have. Can't nothing interfere with a broomstick except powerful dark magic. No kid could do that to a Nimbus 2000. So I'm saying Seamus, somebody from he's a half wizard. His mom's a wizard. He's clearly from a wizarding family. He at one point even brags about his broom experience. So shouldn't he know that it would take powerful dark magic to interfere with the broom?
I just want to know why
Again-
nothing else can.
Again, Hagrid's speech implying that you can do that to other brooms, so not Nimbus 2000.
No, Hagrid just says with the he doesn't say
Broomstick.
Nimbus 2000.
He just said Nimbus
I
2000.
swear he said broomstick.
He said no kid to do that to Nimbus 2000.
He says you're both right. Can't nothing interfere with a broomstick except powerful dark magic. Then no kid could do that to a Nimbus 2000. like maybe a weaker broom, they could possibly, but generally you still need dark magic to interfere with the broomstick.
Yeah.
Which I've got questions about that. Like, why can nothing interfere with a broom other than powerful dark magic?
But get the best broom or you have the potential of some kid dropping you 30 feet.
Only the rich kids can play Quidditch.
Yeah, if you don't get the good broom, you'll fall from 30 feet.
Alright, well anyway, we're not sure if wizards play other muggle sports, but we know they play muggle games, one of them being chess, even though they technically play wizard chess.
Yes.
How do you know that these are
Which,
muggle games and
according
not
to
wizard games?
According to the book, is exactly like muggle chess, except that the figures were alive. So my question is, these figures aren't really alive, are they? They're just magically animated, right? I mean, they don't really have enslaved little people playing on their boards for them, do
Correct.
they? They're not little beings that have been magically enslaved. They're just magically animated,
That's
right?
what I'd assume.
I certainly hope that's the case.
It's like a computer game
Well,
without the technology.
All right,
that's comparable to what we see in the movie.
page 209, when Harry discovers the Mirror of Erised. Something else that doesn't really ever come back. I mean, it's referenced once or twice, but we never see it again.
I wish it
It'd be
came
nice
back
to see it again.
But anyway, in this case, Harry's seeing his deceased family all around him. And it says the Potters smiled and waved at Harry, but I'm assuming if he's seeing his family, he's also seeing the Evans family as well. I'm assuming Lily's family's in there. Would be my assumption.
Yeah, I'd
we don't know
assume
that
so,
for sure,
too.
but it does say the Potters. But technically, Harry would have more family than just the Potters. Not to mention if Potters got married, they may have changed their name as well. So it's not just the Potters there.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to point out.
But as an 11-year-old, maybe he's sitting there like, there's the Potters.
Has
And
nothing to
he's
do with
not
the fact
thinking
that my last
too
name was
carefully.
Evans too. So I just wanted to make sure we represent. All right.
Are
Also,
you related to Harry?
on his mother's side,
So are you the descendant of Luke? And now you're related to Harry?
At
maybe.
what point in time did Skywalker become
That's right.
Evans?
I unite the great geek characters.
Yes.
My God.
Lol. So,
Also on page
I mean,
209,
you're a Jedi wizard.
oh god.
a wizard Jedi.
That'd be insanely powerful. Could you stop a Vakadava with the Force?
I don't know.
He's on top of a blaster bolt.
Anyway, when Harry's telling Ron about his experience with the mirror, Ron says, "I'd like to see your mom and dad." And Harry says, "And I want to see all your family, all the Weasleys. You'll be able to show me your other brothers and everyone." And Ron says, "You can see them any old time. Just come around my house this summer." Harry does go to Ron's house the following summer, but he doesn't meet all his family, even all his brothers. He meets the ones he already knows, but he doesn't meet Charlie and Bill until the summer before their 4th year.
Fact.
And I don't know if he ever meets. I guess he meets some of their other family at the wedding, if nothing else, and maybe once he and Ginny
Maybe.
get married. But
Yeah, maybe once after, the Voldemort stuff.
he could see photos of them, though. He did just say he wants to see them, so they could have photos of them at the house.
True.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't have an explanation.
211.
They didn't want to come because they heard Harry was coming.
They got busy. They planned on coming.
At this point, Ron is looking in the mirror and he sees himself grown. He's head boy, Quidditch champion, etc., etc. And Ron says, "Do you think this mirror shows the future?" And Harry says, "How can it? All my family are dead." I mean, it could be showing the future. Harry's going to die someday and he could, in theory, be reunited with them. So maybe it is showing the future.
Or maybe his family's gonna be resurrected someday.
Okay, now that's just fucking ridiculous.
It's predicting the stone stuff that we saw. At least in the movie.
Again, like the lamest object.
Alright, page 220.
Like powerful wand to be invisible. I gotta walk. I see dead people. And then those dead people could annoy
Wait, do I
you.
have the right page here?
No.
It's like, yes, Joe, I know how you died for the 500th time. Please shut up.
Okay. Page 220. The next morning in Defense Against the Dark Arts, while copying down different ways of treating werewolf bites, Harry and Ron were still discussing what they'd do with the Sorcerer's Stone if they had one. How does one treat werewolf bites? If you get bit by a werewolf, don't you just turn into a werewolf?
I mean, maybe you need to still go
And clearly
do
Lupin
something
needs
with
to
the
learn
bite.
about that.
Or wouldn't you just treat it like you would any... I mean, you can't stop the werewolfism, you can't stop the lycanthropy,
That's
so...
what I don't know.
Then wouldn't you just treat it like any other
My
bite
question
wound?
is, Did
Maybe
they just
it's a
learn,
magic.
do they just learn about werewolves every year for like the first 3 years?
I was going to say, here's the other problem. In year 3, we learned they haven't studied werewolves yet.
But apparently they have.
Because when Snape subs in for the class, he makes them look at werewolves, hoping they'll find out what Lupin is, and they're like, "Sir, we haven't studied werewolves yet." I never thought I'd see a third-year class who hasn't studied werewolves. You know, so...
Maybe they started to in the first year.
They're learning about how to deal with magical injuries.
They started to in the first year. Something happened. Probably part of the fact that defense against dark arts is a constantly changing thing apparently. But so then come the third year, Snape was expecting them to have learned because they were supposed to have been learning.
Right now they're learning how to treat magical wounds.
Speaking of Snape, on page 222, after we found out that Snape is going to be refereeing the second Quidditch match, the only time we see anybody referee a Quidditch match besides Madame Hooch, at least at Hogwarts. I know.
There's referees in a Quidditch match?
Hassan Mustafa referees the Quidditch World Cup, but yes. Anyway, it turns out that Ron and Hermione had been practicing the leg locker curse so they could use it on Snape in case he tried to interfere with Harry, because they were still thinking he was the one that was messing with Harry's broom the first time. But what would the leg locker curse really do if you're on a broom? If anything, wouldn't it help you stay on the broom, because then your legs are locked and you're not going to fall off the broom?
Maybe if your legs
Unless
are locked.
having your legs free is the key to staying on a broom.
I was going to say, maybe if your legs are locked, maybe something does happen balance-wise.
But not only that, why would they think Snape wouldn't know the counter curse to
so,
that simple curse?
Because they're 11.
Oh, drat, they've defeated me with the one curse I could never undo. The leg locker curse.
Maybe it's not like he'd fall off the broom, but he could end up turning or something.
He moves his leg to turn a little bit.
No, I mean just like, fuck.
He's laying to the leg locker. But, well, now I'm upside down.
Yeah. Another weird bit at this Quidditch match is the fact that Malfoy and Crabbe and Goyle come sit with the Gryffindors, because other times we hear it referred to as the Slytherin section, the Gryffindor section, etc.
They came over to be jokes.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you'd think they're supposed to stay in their section. But also, in the first match, of course, we know Hagrid was sitting with the Gryffindors, and I thought the teachers had their own section as well.
I assume
Hagrid's are coming over.
I also wonder if does this mean that Hagrid's a Gryffindor? Because I don't know if we've ever had it revealed. I've always assumed he's a Gryffindor. If not a Gryffindor, certainly a Hufflepuff.
Definitely a Hufflepuff.
Yeah.
Hagrid's pretty brave.
Well, no, I'm saying if he's not a Gryffindor, then yeah, Hufflepuff.
I would assume he's a Gryffindor, but I don't think it's ever been revealed.
I mean, it's pretty much if you're
But
putting...
I guess to be fair, he's not a teacher at that point.
If you're putting good guy character, you're a Gryffindor.
But I was saying...
Luna.
For most of the book.
I was trying to say though.
Luna's Luna.
I was trying to say that maybe the stands,
Tonks.
maybe to some degree they are like decorated for the different things, and maybe they just like naturally stick with the houses because that's their friends, that's who they know the most, things like that. But it's not required. Same with the teacher section, like they have their own area, and students aren't supposed to go in that area, but teachers are allowed to go down and be with the students, be with the houses, interact, whatever, Is
it got like some vending machines in there?
Well, microwave stored in there.
Alright, on page 230, we find out that Hagrid has obtained a dragon's egg.
Yes.
How did he obtain one?
Ron, he got it from Quirrell in a card game at the Hog's Head.
Quirrell had one.
He didn't know it was Quirrell, because Quirrell kept his cloak on.
Okay, real quick, I can confirm Hagrid is a Gryffindor. It's never mentioned in the books, but it is on Wizarding World.
Cool. Anyway, Ron happens to mention about dragons, but it's against our laws. Dragon breeding was outlawed by the Warlocks Convention of 1709. Everyone knows that. Seems a little out of character that Ron would remember a specific date like that. I mean, he's not usually the one who remembers that kind of stuff. That's more of a Hermione thing. I mean, to be fair, I have pointed out that I don't like the way the movies, anytime there's some kind of information to be remembered, it's always got to be Hermione, like Ron can't know everything, and I do complain about that, because I like the idea of characters who are more than one-dimensional. But just a specific date, I wouldn't think would be something that Ron would remember. But I will say, maybe it's not out of the question, and also the fact that he had a brother that was in a dragon, maybe that would make him more likely to remember that.
And I was gonna say, Juan probably wanted a dragon at one point. So
maybe that, but maybe it does have to do.
Probably a little bit of both.
Maybe him learning that stuff.
Probably a little bit of both.
Juan picked up some stuff, and that just happens to be something that stuck with him.
All right. Speaking of the dragon, on page 240. Harry and Hermione. Well, yeah. Well, technically on page 240, Malfoy gets in trouble because he was out trying to get Harry and Hermione in trouble because they were sneaking the dragon up to the tower so Charlie's friends could take them off. And of course, we find out Neville also gets in trouble for this. But my point is, why did Malfoy bother coming out and getting himself in trouble? Couldn't he have just tipped off Filch or Snape like he did with the Midnight Duel?
Yeah.
So that just seems stupid on Malfoy's part, getting himself in trouble for no reason.
Yeah.
Look, Malfoy isn't the blast, okay? He's a bad guy. Bad guys can't be smart.
Malfoy's a very kind of character with
Also,
everything.
speaking of Neville and the trouble they get into, McGonagall takes 50 points away from Gryffindor.
That's a lot of points for
Each
the first book.
for Neville, Harry, and Hermione. And it just seems like...
The first book has a lot of points. We've been over this.
Well, no. Actually, initially it starts out really small. They're looking
Yeah.
at 1 or 5 points, and then
Yeah,
as the
like
book
5
progresses, it gets higher, and then that becomes more the norm.
Yeah.
But my point is, I really don't think Neville should have lost a full 50 points, because even McGonagall believes that he was just trying to help his friends out, that Harry and Hermione had fed this cock and bull story to Malfoy about a dragon, and Neville had gotten caught up in it too. So again, I know she points out that nothing gives Neville the right to be out after hours, and that's fine, that he should still get punished, but I feel like he shouldn't lose as many points as Harry and Hermione,
Yeah.
since in her estimation, Harry and Hermione were the instigators.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of freaking points for the first year. It's like, in that year, it's like they get 50.
Take it
Well, like I say,
Oh,
early on it starts as less, but yet at this point it kind of starts ramping up. And then definitely in later books.
Yeah, later books is like, oh, you washed your hands here, have 50 points.
Lol. That's how it is during COVID. They're like, good job for washing your hands. Now put on your mask and have 50 points.
Oh, you read a book, 100 points.
Lol.
Oh, you managed to eat some food, 1,000 points.
Alright, well, after this incident, when Gryffindor loses its lead in the House Cup competition,
Uh-huh.
Harry finds himself much less popular at school. In fact, it says...
It says, what does it say?
No, hold on, I'll get there.
What does it say?
Well, actually, it starts on page 244. From being one of the most popular and admired people at the school, Harry was suddenly the most hated. Even Ravenclaws and Hufflepuffs turned on him because everyone had been longing to see Slytherin lose the House Cup. Everywhere Harry went, people pointed and didn't trouble to lower their voices. They insulted him. Okay, hold on. That actually wasn't the point I was trying to make.
Okay.
How does Slytherin even rank? Because Slytherin is a bunch
Oh, here
of
we go.
assholes.
This was it. But even Quidditch had lost its fun. The rest of the team wouldn't speak to Harry during practice, and if they had to speak about him, they called him the Seeker. Now, this has always bugged me because it just doesn't seem like Fred and George would stop talking to Harry over
No.
this. That seems completely out of character. And I know they're younger here, and maybe they grew a little more, but that just seems completely out of character to them.
And maybe this is just like one of those moody kind of episodes.
Wood is apparently talking to him because Harry goes to him and offers to resign, and Wood says, "Resign? What good will that do? How are we going to get any points back if we can't win at Quidditch?" So I guess just the girls on the team aren't talking to Harry?
Maybe.
I don't know. Just seems strange to me.
I don't know.
But still, Slytherin is a bunch of assholes, and they somehow win every year.
Also on the
Yeah.
same page, it says only Ron stood by him, but I made a note, only Ron and Hermione.
Uh-huh.
It just seemed, right after the paragraph I read y'all earlier about people taunting him and not liking him anymore, only Ron stood by him, but clearly Hermione stood by him too.
Wow. Just forgetting your
So
female best
it
friend.
is weird that it says only Ron stood by him there. Alright. Let's see, last page of notes? Woo, last page of notes.
Last page.
What does
Last
that
page.
say, Loverboy? No, it says Voldemort.
Same difference.
Well,
I'm a lovable.
going back to that party.
Alright, page 255 and 256. Now we're in the forest with Harry and Neville and Hermione and Draco serving their punishment for being out the night of the dragon incident. They're in the forest with Hagrid looking for a unicorn that's been injured.
Mm-hmm.
On page 255, of course, the unicorn's been thrashing around the forest. They find trails of its silver blood. And at this point...
So is it only silver and it's exposed to oxygen? It's like gold before?
Maybe. At this point, Harry and Malfoy are together with Fang. Neville and Hermione are with Hagrid. And Harry and Malfoy see something bright white gleaming on the ground. They inch closer. It was the unicorn, all right, and it was dead. Harry had never seen anything so beautiful and sad. Its long, slender legs were stuck out at odd angles where it had fallen, and its mane was spread pearly white on the dark leaves. Harry had taken one step toward it when a slithering sound made him freeze where he stood. A bush on the edge of the clearing quivered. Then, out of the shadows, a hooded figure came crawling across the ground like some stalking beast. Harry, Malfoy, and Fang stood transfixed. The cloaked figure reached the unicorn, lowered its head over the wound in the animal's side, and began to drink its blood. Now, of course, this is Quirrell with Voldemort drinking the unicorn's blood to help sustain Voldemort. But my point is, Harry and Malfoy see the dead unicorn. Then Quirrell comes over. So Quirrell / Voldemort killed the unicorn, left, and then came back. Why didn't they just kill it and start drinking its blood right away? Did they killed it and we gotta wait for it to die all the way and then come back?
Maybe.
And again, couldn't they have killed it right away? Isn't Avada
Maybe you have
Kedavra
to
pretty
let the blood
powerful?
sit for a minute. You
Look,
know? I don't know.
he needs something to
Blood
wash down.
potion.
Remember to let the blood sit before you drink it.
He needs something to wash down the blood. Okay. Blood is like peanut butter. You need something to wash it down.
Question: is it metallic?
I don't know.
And that's all I want to know.
Blood has a good bit
I mean,
metal.
our blood has kind of an iron taste to it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that
I
part
want to
tastes
know.
very metal. It's so
do
blood.
unicorns
Does it taste like the
also?
T-1000?
What does the T-1000 taste like?
I don't know, but it's liquid metal.
Nice.
Alright, page 268, I believe that is. So we're getting close to the end here. We're actually in the Through the Trapdoor chapter. I got through it that time, barely.
That's the worst blue I've ever
Of
done.
course, Harry and Ron and Hermione have tried to confide in Professor McGonagall that they think somebody's going to steal the Sorcerer's Stone. And she's like, nonsense. Then the night that Quirrell does try to take the stone, McGonagall catches Harry and Ron outside the door to the third floor corridor.
Uh-huh.
I suppose you think you're harder to get past than a pack of enchantments. Enough of this nonsense. If I hear you come anywhere near here again, I'll take another 50 points from Gryffindor. Yes, Weasley, from my own house. But the strange thing to me is we find out in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows that Dumbledore had confided in Snape that he suspected Quirrell. Not necessarily of being Voldemort, but that he suspected him of something, and he had Snape watching Quirrell. That's why Snape went off and tried to intercept him the Night of the Troll and got bit by Fluffy and whatnot. So Dumbledore has Snape watching out for Quirrell, but it's odd that he didn't confide in McGonagall the same thing, like she needed to watch out for Quirrell.
Same.
Seemed like he would trust her as well. It's also odd that Snape didn't go after Quirrell that night. If he was on his tail, why didn't he follow him that night?
Yeah.
Yeah, he trusted Harry and stuff. It's like,
We got into that in more detail in the other deep dive, I'm pretty sure.
Good job, Alex.
Just almost dropping.
You know,
it on
it's
my face.
bad than something I did once.
What did you do?
I forget. I think I was trying to, I forget.
Okay.
I meant to, click on something, but I clicked on something else.
Yeah.
So I meant to, set my phone down. What I ended up doing was don't get halfway across to him.
What did you click?
It wasn't, and I meant to go home after watching, a YouTube video or something. I just clicked on, another YouTube video or something like that.
So just like the owl just chucked the phone.
No, they, tossed it.
Alright, anyway, on page 274. This is when, still through the Trapdoor chapter. Boom, nailed it that time.
Yes.
This is when they're setting out to either intercept or catch Quirrell. They start from Gryffindor Tower, which I'm
Okay.
pretty sure is high up in the castle.
Yeah.
But yet it says they didn't, and they're going to the third floor corridor.
Yes.
They didn't meet anyone else until they reached the staircase up to the third floor. Shouldn't they be going down to the third floor from Gryffindor Tower?
Well, these
Yes.
staircases are weird. You to go from the fourth to the second, back up to the third.
I have some notes here, like on 128, they go up to Gryffindor Tower. 129 talks about going up. 157. I mean, I'm pretty sure in one of the books it actually says where Gryffindor Tower is, but I
Yeah.
can't swear to it. I've looked at this book and couldn't find it.
Okay. I mean, Dylan might be kind of right. Like, maybe there just wasn't a path available,
Not-
so they
not
had
to-
to go
not-
up
It was a
first.
Friday.
No, now to be fair, they do go up a staircase to the third floor the night of the midnight duel coming from Gryffindor Tower.
Uh-huh.
which again, I still think they should be going down, but that does support that just a bit. On 129, what does it say? Yeah, this is just them 128 and 129 is when they're going up after dinner.
I mean, I did think,
Out of the Great Hall, up the marble staircase.
Yeah.
Led them through doors hidden behind sliding panels. They climbed more staircases. Harry was just wondering, then they run into Peeves. They deal with him. At the very end of the court, it doesn't specify. Also, let's see what 178 says on the subject. I have a note for that as well.
Okay. Let's see if I can find anything.
This is when they've dealt with the troll in whatever bathroom that was in, which is probably on the first couple floors. They go up 2 floors, then they talk out loud, but they're still not. So that to me says they're 3 or 4 floors up already and haven't gotten to Gryffindor Tower. So I still think they should be going down to the 3rd floor from Gryffindor Tower.
Yeah.
I realize once they get in the tower, they're also going to go up from there, but I still feel like the entrance is probably pretty high up because the tower should extend above, the top of the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that goes from 4th floor all the way
Kind
to
of
the
the point
top.
of having a castle. Having a tower.
Well.
But anyway, we're going to talk some more about the placement of different rooms in the castle and what level things are on in our breakdown of Chamber of Secrets for sure. And I think there's some inconsistencies in Azkaban as well. That's as far as I've gotten on this re-deep dive. But if you come up with something else here, that's fine. But we'll also be talking about this later on. So I'm going to move on to page 282 and 283.
Hi.
Oh, this is when they're playing with McGonagall's chess set in the Sorcerer's Obstacle Course.
Sorcerer's Obstacle Course.
But I'm thinking, it's got to be tough for Ron to play that game of chess, being one of the chess pieces, having those tall chess pieces. I mean, you can't really get a bird's eye view of the board like you would when you're playing chess.
Fact.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a game of chess to play from that level.
Facts. I guess he's just
I also have,
chess.
here's a chess issue too during the game. Oh, is that no? Guess that's not quite what I thought it was. Let me double check here. He darted around. Yes. Oh yeah. Okay. It's what Ron says. I think. We're nearly there. Let me think. Yes, we've got. Yeah. Ron's setting up the play at the end of the game where he's going to let himself be taken by the queen. So Harry can take the opposing side's king. Ron's playing as a knight, and he says, "You've got to make some sacrifices. I take 1 step forward and she'll take me." Technically, as a knight, he couldn't take 1 step forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he could take 1 step forward, but then he's got to take 2 to the side.
Yeah.
Because knight's move in an L shape, or he could take 2 steps forward and 1 to the side. But he's got to complete his arc before the queen can take him.
I guess maybe
I also saw something saying that Harry could have sacrificed himself instead.
Oh no, I assume it. I assume it's plain. Well, I think they wanted Harry to be able to get through it. Even Ron and Hermione were like, "We want Harry to go deal with this shit. We ain't going all the way."
And also, at least in the movie, Harry and Hermione aren't on pieces, but Ron is. What happened if Harry was taken? Goodbye, Harry Potter.
Yes, because he's playing as a knight, so he's riding the horse. They wouldn't. Harry wouldn't ride a bishop or Hermione a rook. That'd be weird.
Yeah, but Harry just gets.
I get what you're saying, but it also makes sense. Well, in the book they just describes like being knocked out.
Okay.
Even Ron, she struck Ron hard across the head with her stone arm.
Okay. I didn't know.
Well.
Speaking of the queen.
Yeah. The thing was mainly about the movie.
Okay.
Also, you don't really see the Lord Knights don't have something on them. They're just all the horses.
Okay.
And then after Ron is taken, it says, shaking, Harry moved 3 spaces to the left. Technically, as the bishop, he's not moving to the left. He can move diagonally left, but he's technically moving forward and left. I guess that's what is meant, but technically he's not moving precisely left.
Uh-huh.
That's all I'm saying.
Reasonable.
Alright, and my final note concerns the Mirror of Erised, in which Dumbledore has hidden the Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone if you prefer. with the idea being that only somebody who wanted to find the stone, not use it, would be able to find it because they would see themselves finding it, and that's how Harry got the stone in his pocket. But the note I have on that is,
Well, to use the stone, you have to find it.
couldn't Quirrell's deepest desire when he ran into the mirror be to find the stone? Maybe it would have been to use it, as Dumbledore assumed, since Voldemort didn't have a body and would have needed someone to make him the elixir. Or his deepest desire might have been simply to give it to Voldemort. Or something else entirely different. His deepest desire really might have been to be a go-go dancer in Vegas or something. I don't know.
That would be an interesting sight.
He's wanting to go to the
I
party
have that
with
note here too.
Voldemort.
It's interesting to think about, and not necessarily a joke, but it is interesting to think about what Quirrell's deepest desire may well have been had it not specifically been finding the stone or giving Voldemort the stone or using the stone, what have
What
you.
was Snape's?
But it just seems to me that Dumbledore's taking a hell of a chance, thinking that only somebody would want to find the stone. Like Quirrell's deepest desire might not be. Right now, I want nothing more than to find the stone, so then I can use it. But my deepest desire at the moment is to find it. So it just seems like Dumbledore's taking a hell of a chance. But
Yeah.
that's sort of par for the course for Dumbledore. He seems to take a hell of a chance with a lot of things.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, we thank you for taking a chance on us and listening to yet
trying
another
to-
deep dive into Harry Potter.
Can't
and
wait for the
Sorcerer's
first
Try
one.
number
in a couple
22
years.
on that map. Is it, like, pinch the picture to zoom in.
I don't want to do that. What are you trying to find? Oh,
Gryffindor Tower.
oh my goodness. Move it over this way. This is not the best picture.
It's
What
not.
number am I looking for? 21?
22, I think.
22.
I see 20. I think that says 27. It's so small. Move it back over to the right. This is great content. That's 4. I really can't. It's just tough to read.
Yeah, it is. I found a picture. I just can't figure
Anyway,
out what's what.
you really couldn't just Google.
I was trying to. I hadn't found anything yet. So I tried to look up.
Okay, well, cliffhanger
Like a
for the
map
next
of
episode when we dive into Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Yes.
Sound good?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, make sure you come back then when the conversation will continue. But until then, I am and will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon concluded.
Bye.